drama. I whoop that ass like Michael Obama. Yeah, I got that big D energy. Ain't nobody wanna step to me. And if you really wanna bring that drama, I whoop that ass like Michael Obama.
No, Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
Transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
I really had a like a llama. I whip that thing down like Michael Obama.
We already had it with
I got that
Obama.
big energy.
Just calm down.
Nobody wanna step to me. And if you really wanna bring that drama, I whip that ass like Michael Obama. I'm a girl, 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 I'm a whip them thing out like Michael Obama. I got that big energy. Ain't nobody wanna step like me. And if you really wanna bring that drama, I whip that ass like Michael Obama. Ain't got that clit, bitch. Hung like a llama. I whip that dick. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. Know too much, get left in the ditch. CIA scratches, it's Clinton's getting itch. Yeah, I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. Wiki leaking, now your dome into a ditch. You wish the simulation had glitch. You wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. Know too much, get left in the ditch. CIA scratches, it's Clinton's getting itch. Yeah, I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. Wiki leaking, now your dome into a ditch. You wish the simulation had glitch. You wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. Wiki leaking out your dome into a ditch. You wish the simulation had a glitch. You wanna be rich, but not Seth rich. I wanna be rich, but not Seth rich.
Can you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracies, sex, culture, makings, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracies, sex, culture, makings, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys.
Big
Big up yourself and welcome back to another episode of the Secret Society of Good Guys. As always, we are your good guys. So if you're here this early, do us a big favor and hit the like, subscribe, or the bell, or wherever you may be watching from, Rumble or YouTube. Today we are excited because Thomas is going to let us hang out with his other friends today. So he brought Andrea Zertis here to hang out.
Want to be rich, but not Seth Rich. That was really good.
Welcome. We're so excited you can come hang out with the Secret Society of Good Gals and
Thanks
guys
for
and
inviting
boys.
me. That's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you can talk about whatever you want here. You can it's something you may have never even talked about online. You never know what might come up here.
Gender normativity. I don't know, man. Like, let's go.
You are now a good guy gal, so there's that.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
And I think that might be a felony in Trump's America. We're not even allowed to be good guy gals.
I'm going to introduce myself as that from now on. I feel like I'm not sure if that's a good thing though, right? Like, is a good guy gal like a good gal guy, or is it different? Like, is it recursive? Does it work either way?
A Gal Gadot.
Hmm.
Something wasn't Gal Gadot. Didn't something just go on with her this week?
Yeah, she got paid enough money to be like the witch in the Snow White movie, right?
Oh, that's Snow White.
I heard the movie's really short though, because she walks up to the mirror and she says, "Who's the fairest one of them all?" And it says, "You are." And then the movie ends and the credits scroll.
Yeah, but they don't mean like beautiful though. That's the thing. I think because obviously Gal Gadot was the most beautiful one, but they're saying like fair, and maybe they're saying like woke politics are more fair, like equitable, and so technically they might be onto something, right? They might be saying the truth.
Does it say magic mirror on the wall or mirror on the wall?
In the original or in the new one?
No, it's not a Mandela effect.
Dude, it's a Mengele effect, right? I thought that's what it was. Or is it a Manuela effect? It's the Manuela effect now. That's the way
Mandala.
I like Mandela.
Just
The
spreads out.
Mandala. Yeah, everything is a Mandala, effective Mandala for sure. Why is everyone so worried about like Snow White, like at all though? Because what was that lady, Adriana Caselotti? Are you going to go on a rant about this, Thomas, or do I have to do this?
I don't even know who this is. No.
Well, like when you think about Snow White, like you should be like they should make a movie about the first girl to play the voice of Snow White, because no one knows her name, right? Because watch the end of Snow White, the cartoon. It doesn't tell you who's the voices of anybody. It's a complete. Sorry, my throat. It's a complete mystery, and the reason is because Snow White was supposed to be this like magical moment, and you weren't supposed to know who played the voice. So she got paid like $900, which is still good money in 1937, right?
900 American dollars.
Yeah, I think that's like 20 grand today. So,
I didn't know that. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, like money's after the Biden economy, not what it used to be, but at the time, $900, and they never let her put her name on the thing, so no one knew who she was. So she did like basically it didn't help her career. I wouldn't quite say they blacklisted her, but I guess Jack Benny tried to get her on, and Walt Disney had like a 3 or 4 or 5 year contract with her. She had no idea that it was a feature film because no one ever make a feature film, feature animated film before. So she plays Snow White. She goes to the premiere. She's like, "Whoa, this is incredible." Can't see her name because at the time nobody put their voice actors, let alone voice actresses, like they weren't putting their names on cartoons like Looney Tunes, right? So they make this big thing as the first, and everyone's like, "Oh man, how could they do that to her?" Blah 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 blah. But she's like, you've heard her a few times still, like the Snow White girl, Adriana. She did in MGM, Wizard of Oz. That one line, like "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" in the Tin Man song. That's her. And she's in It's a Wonderful Life. She's playing and singing music while like the main guy's getting drunk or like talking or something like that. There's a couple other scenes that she did that are kind of important, but for the most part, no one ever heard of her again. I feel like that would be a way more interesting movie, like this female actress that was totally screwed by the industry. I think people would love that, right? And then they'd be like, "All right, now who's the fairest one of all?" Or something like that.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's hard to make a movie because didn't they do that same idea about how they bought like Mary Poppins or something, but then they kind of whitewashed it and made it seem like it was like all nice, but it wasn't really nice how he got that story.
Well, yeah, but it's like, so she was an alcoholic and she was in abusive relationships, and she was like an abusive childhood. Her dad was an alcoholic, and I think that still comes through though. That's the thing about Disney. I don't blame Walt Disney for not doing what anyone else. I mean, no one had ever made a cartoon feature before, and he didn't. $20,000 basically, right? Like that's a pretty reasonable amount to pay for an experiment that you weren't sure was going to work out. And I mean, I don't blame him really. I think it was probably, according to the time, kind of fair. I mean, Thomas also knows some other stories from Hollywood from the 30s. It wasn't exactly like the greatest time to be a woman in Hollywood, right? At the beginning, it was pretty crap. And it was actually worse in the 30s and in the 20s. Silent film actresses were treated, pretty bad, but still better than, in the 30s. And by World War II period, there was unionizing that was happening in Hollywood that didn't exist before that point. Like unions in New York were the reason people moved to Hollywood, because they were like, we can't.
And yeah, like
Terrible.
some ladies had probably worked up their clout enough in silent films that by the time the talkies come out, there's a dime a dozen broads who can talk. Like this was like, we don't need you to come over with your silent fame. Like we
And it was
can
pre-code.
rebuild. And they kind of did take that code that you're taught. Yeah, it was
Pre-code was
silent.
screwed up. Pre-code was like the pre-code Hollywood is a vibe, it's like cocaine and dancing. It's actually, you got hookers and clowns that are making movies, and no one treated them with respect. No one expected to treat themselves with respect. The amount of women that ended up killing themselves because they didn't get a role, isn't that like the whole thing? There's a whole story about the Hollywood sign and the girl underneath the hill, and she killed herself like 3 days before she got a role because she didn't go to her mailbox, and her suicidal. She decided like, oh, I'm never gonna get a job. I'm gonna kill myself.
I feel like she was just looking for the first thing though. In that case,
Hollywood was rough by the time pre-code ended, and like then you got like, what was pre-code? Pre-code was like Marion Davis, right? The William Randolph Hearst mistress son. So if you were a mistress, you could try to get a job. That's the way Hollywood was at that time, and everybody knew it. It wasn't super, dignified. It's kind of interesting today how they're trying to clean up Hollywood. The Me Too movement, for me, isn't so much about sexual harassment. It's more about Hollywood trying to legitimize itself, because it's never been legitimate. It's always been the worst possible thing that could happen to you. I mean, go back to Rome. Fame, infamy was a punishment, right? Originally, you lose your rights to your private person because it becomes a property of the public commons. It's the worst thing that could happen to you in a lot of ways. And this became some sort of a reward. We're trying to teach people this is what you want. And that's so that we could scale it to YouTube. But, it wasn't a good thing, right?
Well, they almost had to give you archetypes that all the speaking films made it a little. So they did have this blonde that once you could talk, she runs this archetype of the blonde runs through the entirety, even to still now. Or like what you were saying, it was kind of trashy vaudeville-ish kind of feeling that they get these Crawfords. They try to put this act on this woman. Look how dignified, look at her voice, look how she talks in her like Northern Atlantic accent. And so they start talking in this way that's not even a real spoken thing anywhere in the country, to try to give the illusion of dignification that never really existed. But that kind of is the idea, where people are like, oh, look at, they're a starlet. They're either beautiful, they give us the blonde, or they're very classy and intelligent, they give us the brunette. And this kind of is this like thing we see over and over again.
Yeah.
But
I would go a little further to say that it's not actually a good thing to be the blonde. I mean, originally what it is you had
the worst
Mizrahis.
thing to be the blonde.
The Mizrahis and the Sephards didn't like the blondes, and maybe they like to have them sexually. So they're like trying to exploit them and to show like,
they're
hey,
less than chattel. The blondes.
They're the Nord prostitutes that they're trying to exploit from the Midwest, and they're pulling them out, and they're trying to say, hey, if you look like this, we're going to do the worst things possible. It's kind of like what you see in Dubai right now. It's like to OnlyFans models. It's pretty bad, like what Hollywood was. And there weren't a lot of redheads because the Ashkenazi were trying to protect their own. So you've got like basically Lucille Ball is like the icon for the redhead at that time, because they were trying to say, hey, the redheads are the clever and the protected class. But the brunettes were people that they were trying to show, hey, you can be normalized. I mean, it's the dark-haired women that were considered to be like the villains, and the villains were the best role, right? If you could be a villain, you were a powerful
Well, they were
woman.
the only intelligent ones, like on film at the time for ladies in Hollywood. You had to be
Urge from people
a
to
villain.
masturbate to. Like most of the, think about it, they didn't want these guys looking at their women that way. That was Hollywood.
Yeah, that seems pretty. What were you gonna say, Abby?
No idea.
Oh, no idea now. Lost in lost in the Hollywood sauce and the Babylon of
We
it
got
all.
pretty dark really quickly.
I went to
apologize.
I went to Shirley Temple, like when you were talking about the 30s and stuff, and like women being exploited because really she was a child, but still she made literally nothing, right?
Dude, but Bay Shirley Temple, for so many reasons. She was a child star, made a ton of money. It was stolen from her by her parents. She took back to Hollywood, made entirely a new career for herself as an adult, made back more money than she made even as a child. She was shrewd. She was brilliant. She was wise. She ended up as the ambassador to South Africa, right? Isn't that right? I think she was one of those, like she became like a diplomat. So,
Wow.
Bay Shirley for sure.
They
Is it possible to even come out of the other end of that and not have that Hollywood dirt on you? Like you're also doing dirt behind the scenes?
Oh, you have to be.
Are you claiming Shirley Temple was human trafficking? What are you saying right now?
I mean, I'm just saying that, you kind of repeat the things that you learn as you grow up, right? People hurt people.
Dude, Shirley Temple was the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. And she also served as chief of protocol of the United States. I mean, that's wild. I don't know.
Chief of protocol.
It kind of is a lot of like Judy Garland in a lot very similar sense. And then later on, Judy Garland begot Liza Minnelli in a very similar kind of role, like this big, huge voice that becomes like an icon. I think Judy Garland, though, she might have only left the country like one time.
Dude,
she has like an Elvis tail.
Her life was bad. Yeah, like
awful.
Did not turn out well for her.
It seems like an interesting dynamic to make sure that child stars end up working in government later on in their life. So like the horribles, like Macaulay Culkin should also be the head of a cabinet somewhere because he knows. I would assume that he was kind of like a 90s male Shirley Temple, that he knows where the doors were, that if you went through that door, you come back a different person, right? And to know that, like that amount of dirt on people and then make it into government, you can maybe be one of the best safeguards for that because you know exactly how people
operate. But sometimes you don't want someone in the limelight. So like Lucille Ball was really a key to the McCarthyism trial period because her grandfather was a communist. She married in with Desi Arnaz, who was involved with Cosa Nostra. Frank Sinatra was trying to have him killed, but his wife tried to save, Desi Arnaz. All the JFK stuff goes right back to Lucille Ball. And she was having communist parties and meetings at her mansions in Los Angeles. So all the blacklisted Trumbo, everybody, they were all doing these crazy, kind of like the way Scientologists would have like their meetings. Like that was what the communists were doing. And it was all through Lucille Ball. And she was able to be like, me? I'm not I don't know what's going on. It's like perfect for this crisis acting.
This through my teeth. I was just
driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. What are you talking about?
For real,
Speaking of Hollywood, is it true that George Foreman passed away this evening?
Just now?
Really?
I believe.
I have to look it up.
Oh,
go right to the source.
Yeah.
Let's go right to St. Andrew's Cross and look it up. George Foreman.
I saw it on TikTok, but you can't believe everything you see on the internet. But it just popped up, and I'm just like, huh.
Dude, George Foreman has the most phallic signature I've ever seen.
Even better than Alice Foreman.
I remember looking at the Foreman grill. This has come up before, and he just has this weird kind of like. It's not like an amazing phallic symbol either. It's more like. It's kind of a flaccid thing going on, but it's a big blimp of a penis. And he's got it on every single Foreman grill as this giant symbol that he, who drew. But I guess that's not the time to talk about it. Rest in peace. Oh, with jibber jabber.
See, I had George Foreman's autograph as a kid because I went to a fight that he did in Reno, and
Based. Awesome.
it didn't look like the one on the Foreman Grill. I'll say
Really?
that. Yeah.
Did it look more or less phallic?
The G almost looked like the F as well. Like they were really sharp and square.
Dude, I want to see that. I'm curious because I always wondered, like, does he do this on purpose or not? But I've seen that signature on his gloves and on his grill, and it tends to be kind of blimpy. I'm trying to find, like, how do I share screen? I just found it right here. There you go. What do you tell me? What do you think that is? That weird or is that?
One sec and show.
Is this kind of? Am I sick? Am I the sick one here?
I think it's you.
Really? You
Yeah, it kind of looks
I
like,
see
honestly,
like two nut sacks, and he's slinging to the right. You know what I mean?
I see
a
that.
profile of.
Right? Come on.
I see a profile of like that's Elvis hair or something. Like
It's
it
a
doesn't
bit
even.
Picasso. I can see that like too, but I don't know. I see him swinging to the right pretty hard right now. But okay. I don't want to see it. I'm just saying I do. You know,
It does kind of look like a penis to me.
That's a weird signature. It doesn't even look
It's
like
like he has pierogies in his signature.
I feel
Look at
bad
Abbie
though.
knew what that one was.
We should
talk
be
about,
judging him. He's dead.
We'll talk about anything sexy or anything, and we learn a lot on this show. I've even learned from this show. I used to think I was claustrophobic. Now I realize I'm vorophobic. Like I actually don't want to be constricted.
Oh, not like Al Gore, but Agora. Okay, I was confused.
Yeah, well, if you don't know what vore is, it's this trend that is going around that people it's a sexual fetish too, but it's also just a thing we found out that kids were looking it up, and it would be akin to you getting swallowed whole by like a boa constrictor and being inside of its belly whole. People have a fetish to being inside of something whole.
I mean, as a male, I can see what they're getting at. You know what I mean? But
so the pregnant man emoji is actually maybe vore.
Right.
Did we ever discuss that?
Homunculus.
I wondered too, would Interverse get you off? Like if you were to shrink down and be injected into somebody?
Inner space is the hottest concept. Yeah.
Would that
movie
count
and
as
then
vore,
and when they get pregnant, that's so hot. You know, Wendy Shaw's in that movie. I love Inner Space.
Do you think it could have been would have been the same if it was Martin Tall? Do you think it had to be Martin Short?
I don't know, but
like,
I was thinking earlier today about
space?
Longfellow, and if his name was like Little Man or something, Little Fellow, that might have been just as. Would you read Longfellow as much, or how do you feel about Honor Balzac? Like he's probably a pretty good writer.
But then look at Dennis Quaid. It's like he is legitimately. I'm a lesbian, but Dennis Quaid's a sexy man.
But
Randy
you're a cool
Quaid,
lesbian. You're like if Ellen DeGeneres didn't beat up and molest people, and I like that about you.
I fit. That's my archetype. Is that I just like there's only a few lesbians you can fit into, and Ellen is one of them.
All right.
Yeah, once I put on shoes, I'm like dancing. Like I can't even not dance around the table. Like I have Chucks on, and I'm like,
That's pretty based. I'm for that. Yeah, I like any
better
lesbian
than
that reminds me of myself
lesbian.
at 14. I think that's basically what we should all be going for.
But
we need you to get one of those little mini koosh balls and just start every episode with that. Just shooting it off of the camera. Yeah.
I actually found awesome Inception tops that I'm gonna get for yeah, we always talk about it. It is something that I always have in my pocket, but like a silver one, but I found like cheap ones to get to put in. And I was thinking of doing just like a box. You know how Donut did like however many videos? I was thinking we would just do like 20, 50, 100, whatever amount, but we'll just make a finite amount, but we have people, and then we'll put together like care packages from Secret Society of Good Guys. But anyways, I saw this top and was thinking about it like, ooh, I'll get that for the fans. So anyways,
I want one too though.
I'll get you one too for sure.
I'm worried that I'm now into vore. I don't know what you did to me. Just that's kind of. I just saw this one picture of these people in a dollhouse being like.
She introduced us to it. I had no idea it was a thing until she said, "Do you know what kids are learning in school? Well, not in school, but like
what they're
What
looking
they
up.
know?
Yeah,
That's probably where they're learning it. Come on.
because I'm a
Well,
like education IT. Like that's like I do like the computer everything networking for an entire school district, and so I see all this stuff that they get red flagged for. So vore, I was like sitting there trying to search it myself, and then I'm getting red flagged for it. So like I have a hotspot too, so I had to connect to the hotspot and look it up, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like these little perverts. But
I mean, I
it's all the
never
kids that start. They
knew.
start with furries. Well, it starts with anime, then the same kids start looking up furries, and then it goes to vore.
Well, that's totally it too. Because
Oh, that's even what?
some of the
Oh, it's a
early-
breeder thing too.
No,
Oh,
it's
bro.
cartoon related. So a lot of the vore you'll see, it'll be Sonic and Hedgehog, or it'll be like Pokemon,
Homer Simpson.
or
Why not
it'll
Alice
be
in Wonderland
Simpsons.
doll? That's what I was thinking of, is when she gets all big and out in Alice in Wonderland, and you're like in the house, and like she's gonna swallow, like the lizard's all worried he's gonna get eaten, right? And he gets like flown out there. I feel like that's the beginning.
Is this like trying to sell reptilians to children?
Like maybe the lizard, yeah, because the jaw thing. I think you're onto
Yeah.
something with that too, because they can. Dude, I didn't think about that. You're right. Come on, it has to be.
Right. I
The
mean,
girlfriend
because who else came up with
Who else
What?
can vore? It has lizard people with dislocated jaws, basically,
Yep.
right?
And this looks furry AF. Like this outfit
Yeah.
starts to get where it's like, whoop, people are getting creepy at Comic-Con
The
again.
gateway
Yeah.
drug.
What do you do if you find this in your kid's, things? Like he just has or she has a whole binder full of this vore stuff somewhere. Is
You
this a
probably wouldn't even think anything bad about it. You just think it was like,
now that you know.
Abstract art.
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like you didn't teach your kids enough about conception, because maybe because it looks like pregnancy. So I think that's another aspect of this. One is that
Ooh.
you want to be swallowed, and the other is like you want to be stretched out, which are like
It's a
so that might
whole
be the.
nother
But that's the
podcast,
masculine and
too.
the feminine. The naive masculine as a child is you want to be enveloped.
I
in
want you
love.
inside me. It gives a whole new context to that.
Indeed, I think it is, and it's something. If you don't understand how conception works, you're thinking like, well, you must have. How's the baby get in there?
Do we need a mic check, Abby?
Oh man, I had to think about it too long.
We'll do it again later.
Like, don't worry, we'll do it again. Don't worry, Abbie, we'll try again later.
Okay. I'll make sure I hit it that time.
I know part of it is like it makes me wonder if like kids need a hug. Like they're like missing this attachment, because think of how much in life, if you were growing up during COVID, being your impression in like in years of that were forming you, like what about if this natural thing of how much, even by strangers, like, oh, pardon me, at the store, that you're touching someone's back or standing in line hearing, what about if there's something so missing from just the amount of human touch, and the more people get into their computer and into their phones and into their whatever, it's like the more they lack the thing, the more the thing that they're lacking seems like this crazy drug. Like, oh, it's a full vore, but really it's just like, whoa, these kids aren't around, like how
They need some
little chicks
affection.
need to be around other chicks. It's like, whoa, maybe everybody's inner child's broken.
It's kids,
Or
it's adults too. Like even adults, they're seeking like therapy where they're hiring people just to like cuddle for like an hour. And it's like, my God, okay, interesting. But I see why, like that human contact, and people are just afraid to just be with anybody. And I get it. They're smart for that.
It could be both.
Smart.
Maybe everyone needs more hugs, but also rifle clubs should come back. Like kids should learn how to use guns in schools too. Maybe it's both, but I
Responsibility.
feel just as strongly about that one.
I agree with that, because I feel like the reason why shootings and shit happen, if they are happening, I'm putting that out there because I don't believe that they're all
Careful, Alex Jones.
real, right? I'm gonna say that a lot of these people are not learning to value a gun or whatever, like to understand it. I don't know. It was just taught in my household, like every gun is loaded, even if it's not loaded. My dad would hand me a gun and he would show me that there was no bullet in the chamber, and or anything like that. And then he would hand it to me and say, "Is it loaded?" And if I said no, I failed the test. Like there were certain, you were just taught to respect it. And I feel like if you're taught that from a young age, or
Like a
in school or
dangerous
whatever,
tool. It
yes,
would
it's
be
a
like,
dangerous tool.
yeah, you don't like, oh, it's a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
Go
fire.
use a bandsaw. Don't cut
Yeah,
your
like
fingers
I
off.
don't let my 2-year-old
how to
touch the
clean it.
open fire pit yet.
Yeah.
Like there's levels to the tools, but there are other dangerous tools that people can maim themselves with just as easily. You know, like
How can you make your kid do what you're like? So my first word was no, and it's literally because I was told, and I don't remember it even. This is the story, is that my dad said don't touch the fireplace, and so I knew it was too hot. I'm not an idiot, but I waited the next day and I went over there and I was just like, no, So I'm pretty sure you kids will do what they want to do, but they'll figure out the way that it fits as long as you kind of give them like the parameters to understand for themselves when they're going to do something. I mean, especially like physical contact. The big scare is that schools used to be, you have a bunch of kids. I like the small school. It kind of almost makes up for it. But it used to be one classroom had every age. And now we're on a need to know basis. You're like 6-year-olds with 6-year-olds. So they don't even realize what it's like to be a sixth grader. And you need to have that. You need to have 6-year-olds with sixth graders so that they see, everything should be, I think we need to put everyone together, co-ed, co-age. That's the only way, otherwise you can't learn from other people's mistakes before they happen to you and just get hit by a bus.
I think that little schoolhouse idea is kind of a great idea because also so many people learn something by teaching somebody else it. It's like a really weird thing that happens where everybody always talks, always thinks of this teacher as the hierarchy when the student appears. That really is it. Like you get this like, oh, I might not understand the advanced level I'm being taught right now, but I understand all these levels in between. And sometimes even just getting that kind of security in your own thought process and telling somebody younger, it makes you so much more validated going forward in questioning the things you don't know yet. And so I do think there is something missing about that community with kids.
There's this teaching method that I used when I was a teacher where after I would assess the students and stuff and see where they were, I grouped them and this isn't my idea, okay, but it's a really smart idea. So you, in each of your groups, you'll have one of your higher kids, and right next to him will be 2 medium kids, like across from him, and his shoulder partner and his elbow
love this
partner.
ranking already.
I know, but it's
all right. We need 3 more dumb ones over there and a smart one in that group. And
there's got to be, it has to be that way because the smart kid has to be with 2 medium-sized medium kids, so that way he can teach them. If you have him partnered with a lower kid, then it's always going to be one completely dominating the other. Like he's not going to learn anything. But the lower kid will also do better if he's next to medium kids instead of the higher kid, and he won't feel stupid. There's a whole method to it, and it actually really it works for everyone to grow, not just the high kid always teaching and always like finishing first and always helping. And there's a lot to it, but it's a good method.
If the kids ever catch on, I wonder if one of them's like, all right, who's the stupid one in this group?
You switch them up. You switch your groups quite often, but yeah,
you got to keep them guessing so they can't figure out who the dumb ones are.
You do.
I mean, you have to keep the kids from wanting to be suicidal. Like, because if it gets too hard for them, it's like Korea. But at the same time, you should basically always be making it so hard that they are almost drowning. I feel like school should be really stressful at all times. Maybe I'm a Slavic person, but
I think it should be fun because you learn.
They just passed
recently.
It's fun when you get home because you've survived it. I think it should be like Game of Thrones kind of a thing, right? Like all the time.
Well, in Washington State recently, they just passed a bill where they allow children to not seek parental consent for abortions, gender changes, XYZ, and they say that if children are having sex, they're smart enough to make their own decisions. So that's their argument.
That's
to a lot of this that's going on. So they passed the bill, and apparently parents are not happy about it. But it is Washington State. That's all I got to say about that. But they are slowly taking control, and they're not seeing as adults as the authority figure anymore. It's the schools who are wanting to take over and raise your children, which we pretty much do. But
I think it's pretty. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
it's happening.
like Washington State is like the land of like day hookers and 50 Shades of Grey. So I get your point there, but at the same time, I feel like it's your own fault if you put your kids in school. No, like you should
Yeah.
know better. If you put your kids in school, it's your like, what are you doing? You know, I remember I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, you remember like homeschooling collectives that would go to your school? Like we had a play for every class. Like first graders are doing this song from The Little Mermaid, and third graders are
Han
doing
Frank.
like, oh, that was
I
was
really
my
had. I
favorite.
was one. I had to go see it, Layla. My favorite.
But the homeschoolers would show up, and now it's the homeschoolers class, and their play was so like it was like, and now the Epic of Gilgamesh, you know, with all and like the fake waves are moving this boat and everything. Like the kids were so much, they didn't know how dumb everyone else was. They were learning how to be on their own level and with each other, and each one of them had like some parent who was, you know, autistic, isolated, and spoke Latin, so they were able to get their kids to do more. And then the school had to, I mean, the state had to give you money. It was like, okay, well, you're not going to the school where we force them to eat Cisco foods. We give you $17,000 a year or something like that. That's crazy that anyone would do anything else than that. Like, they're going to pay you money to keep your kids out of school shooting zones. Take the money. Why would you ever send your kids to school unless you just really, you know, like you're sick of them, you hate them, and you got 6 anyway. So like, you might as well just drop them off and drink all day. Like, that seems what public schools are for.
It does. At
It is
this point, it
crazy to
feels
me.
like the same thing where you're like, well, you know, they're what are they just shooting them up with jibby jabbies all the time? It's the
They're
same
shooting
thing,
them up with some in
except
every
they're
school I've
like
heard.
putting it in their brain every day. This bad information, rewrites a history, rewrites a science, and then if your kid is special or gifted in something, they really break it out of them. Their job is to break the spirit of a kid that might excel at art or reading or writing or whatever. Pick the thing. The school will usually, if your kid is meant to excel, the school will somehow use it to be like, oh, we need this SAT score because that'll push us up into these higher brackets, or some other school will come steal you if your kid's worth a shit. Like some private school will be like, yeah, we'll pay a kid to play baseball here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no thanks, Joan Crawford.
And that's why, you know, like I like the idea of, you know, when you have a child, you think about that beforehand when you choose your partner, and like make sure if you're going to homeschool your child, the woman's not working or the man's not working and the woman's working. It's like someone's got to be at home. So you have to set up a lifestyle for that. And it ain't easy, but like that's why people should like be cautious of like how many children you're having and why you're having your children. Do you want someone else to raise them, or do you want you to raise them? And if you do want to raise them, do you have that lifestyle set where you can afford that? So it's like hard for people to even have that lifestyle because of money. 2 people got to work to survive nowadays. So back in the day it was easy.
I mean, if the public school has the Anne Frank musical, it's worth it, right? Like, that's a pretty cool musical. My name is Otto Frank, and I'll do my best to protect my daughter to the front. Like, that was a cool. I think if you do that, and also
Wow.
you never seen that one?
I like when he was,
No,
if
I'm
I
impressed,
was
though.
a rich man, be la-da-lee-la-da-lee.
You're gonna pull all the autism out of me, but like the mercury in my teeth, which is exactly what public school treats your family's religion or belief structures like. It's just mercury in your teeth that they have to drill out of you. But now I have to segue for just 2 seconds so we can go back. It's just because you said that, the Fiddler on the Roof, the guy who played the first Fred Flintstone was in the Fiddler on the Roof musical. And so they said, all right, your line for Fred Flintstone every once in a while is to say Yahoo. He's like, can I work with this? Can I change it? Can I say yabba dabba dabba do? And they're like, yeah, go with it. So Fiddler on the Roof, Flintstones, Fred Flintstone's
It's
Jewish.
actually Yiddish. Fred Flintstone.
Kind of based.
When he said yabba dabba.
They did go to a secret society. Him and Barney were in
The
a secret
water
society.
buffaloes, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Which turned
Ain't no
into an
secret.
actual Masonic degree too. Like there's an actual water buffalo degree that some Masons put on, I think, in like South Carolina or something.
Thomas, why didn't you tell me that Hal fucking Sparks is a Freemason? Like, what world are we living in anymore? You know what I mean? Like the guy who
Everyone
played
is. You can
Sultan
flip the curtain
and
they all are, man. Descartes was a Rosicrucian and all the way back. And speaking of that one too, what you guys are saying about don't even send your kids to school, I feel that one of the main reasons is the same reason you pay tax. It's the same way that the government gives you this certain note and says, okay, now by the end of the year, you got to find enough of these things and turn them back in like it's an Easter egg hunt. Otherwise, you go to jail forever. It's the same thing with school. It's like you can't not send your kid to school because now you can go to jail for neglect and they can get in trouble. And like there's legal ramifications of this. So it's a forced version, but it's even more insidious because we're also not allowed to just say that it's a mandatory babysitting like daycare center for children, because if you say that, everyone involved in that whole entire system gets really offended about it. But if you were to if you do homeschooling and someone were to say that, if someone was like, oh, you homeschool, you just babysit all day, I don't even think that same sort of like insult would be implied, because it's kind of all in one, right? But if you say that now, it's so close to the truth that everyone gets upset about that. A teacher would never forget if you ever said that in their presence. You just babysit kids all day. But it's that, but it's because it's forced by the state. The state is forcing you to make sure that some adult is babysitting your kids, whether it's in public school or not. And the most insidious part of it, I think, personally experience, is that it's not even the lies and the misinformation that they fill you up with, because over time you can learn that stuff was wrong and just replace it with the right stuff. The worst part is them telling you how to think and separating your ability to combine artwork with math or like science and music, because it's not allowed. There's no way for that to work within that sort of weird standardized system. Homeschooling fixes a lot of that. The whole like old school schoolyard where, you know, the older kids are learning and teaching from the younger kids, that also allows for that. But this version we've got now, and I wonder if the changing of this Department of Education that might be on the horizon, if that changes any of this. If that means that now you can have weird sort of homeschool style setups, but send your kids there and it's actually legitimate. But there's also going to be the other version of that, where now all of like the most insidious leftist programming that, you know, like a right-wing extremist would be afraid of, that stuff is going to get the dial turned up too. Washington and Oregon, now your kids are actually going to go to real life sort of indoctrination camps intentionally, and you're going to like it and they're going to like it.
But when I taught third grade, I would do this whole integrated lesson plan. So it just depends on the teacher, really, because like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to integrate everything into one thing. If you can do it, you totally make an impact. So I taught my kids with paper airplanes. The science standards were like lift and thrust and all that, but I incorporated art because I taught them about origami. So we did a huge origami lesson. I integrated a book, I used a book. So I integrated literacy into it. Sudoku and the 1,000 Paper Cranes. So I read them that book while we're doing the art, and I'm teaching them the math, vertices and points and stuff like that. So I'm teaching them the math, I'm teaching them the science. And the airplane, the fun part was like I started with just a minute, each give them a piece of paper, they all folded a paper airplane, and then they had to throw it. And I wanted to see if they could, you know, who could throw it the furthest and how far they thought they could get it to go. And they all think that theirs is going to be the best, and they're all coloring them and making them all fancy and stuff. And then like the furthest one went like 2.5 feet. So we measured it, we graphed it. So there's also math, right? So then I teach them about lift and thrust and all of that. So, and I teach them how to fold a better paper airplane. So then we go and do it again. And then everybody's throwing them like 20, 30 feet, you know, and so then we graph the data. So I was able to use math, science, art, and literacy all in one lesson plan. So it can be done. It's just not done often.
I agree with that. And by the way, super based for so many reasons. Paper airplanes are so cool. But also,
and it made a huge impact on every single one of them. They remembered it.
Because if you
it was fun.
every kind of, it's fun, and you're combining it's a practical thing. It's something that they can teach other people really quickly, and it's combining all tactile, you know, all the different kinds of learning together, so that if you're learning one kind and someone's learning another kind, they can help each other understand from each. That's a perfect example of the right way to teach. You should keep teaching. Don't stop. But
I'm not a teacher anymore. I do tech because.
Well, I know. I think part of the thing is even at schools, they made it so that if Abbie was in a regular school and then in 42.5 minutes, she had to send her kid to me. And now whatever, tink, tink, tink. Hi, Dean, Andreas. Abbie, I'm trying to teach math lessons to my class, and Abby's teaching them this paper airplane stuff with triangles that now is really affecting my lesson. So it would just be great if she could
Oof.
stay teaching English. That would be fantastic. This is like the new level of
Need to
the,
know.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so this bell rings, you go to a new teacher, new teaching style, bank, and it's the teachers are no longer allowed to work together, coordinate lesson plans in a way that this could not just happen in Abby's class. All of us could work together, and now the kids are going between us, and we're fitting this stuff in a way that could be beneficial for the entirety of all the kids. But it's almost like the opposite is done on purpose. Whatever we think would be the good idea, they're like, oh, let's just pick the opposite idea and
But
do
you're
that
always
on
gonna run into
purpose.
that one math teacher that's like, my father died in a paper airplane crash. Like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, right. Well, there's also like public libraries, right? So originally we had paper planes. Yeah, there was a time in America where we had public library. I mean, I think I might be wrong here because I think there are public schools like the Boston Latin public schools like 1659 or something. But in the United States, the way we think of it, public libraries were first, and George Washington eventually thinks about it. He's like, we need to have public schools, but public schools come out of public libraries. And public libraries are really, we should collapse education into libraries. And you should have guns in schools, like unironically, because originally the only reason you had public schools was because of the Second Amendment. Because the Second Amendment says you need to have a well-regulated, not a bureaucratic nightmare, a regulated, like an engine's oiled militia. Militia is the Sanskrit for peaceable assembly. So if you're teaching kids how to read so they can read the books that are available to them in the public library, but also showing them how to write and use guns to protect their public library and their community, that's the first steps towards whatever education we were supposed to have. Then you can teach them how to do other things too. It can get them on to learning medicine, lifeguarding, all of the different skills that you're going to need, home economics, not just for women, but for men. Understanding the word economics means running of the house, right? So even running of the economy for the United States would have been part of home economics. That all should be part of your library, every library in the United States. And you should be able to pick which book you're going to read to an extent. Maybe there's certain accreditation programs. You're like, well, I want to do this. Well, instead of having a teacher who doesn't know how to succeed and has failed their way into teaching the thing that they failed at, you have apprenticeships that show up. And like, in order to qualify for apprenticeship, you need to have read and learned certain kinds of things in that library system before they can get that apprenticeship. I think that's where we need to get back to that old 1600s German apprenticeship program, but through public libraries, facilitating everyone getting access to whatever they need to learn what they want to learn, but also the things that they think are, if you have an apprenticeship, a master will tell an apprentice what they need to know in order to take that apprenticeship.
This is like an old Project Chaney thing where I made my audience do this once because I really wanted to know the oldest book they could find in their library that wasn't something like an autobiography or like a book on the Constitution, where it's just like, here's the Constitution and this is the print. And if you do still have a library and it has microfiche, go to that, like all those newspaper articles and go to it while you can.
Totally. I was going to say, don't tell us what the book is, because they're going to cancel that book as soon as you find out how old it is. Like the oldest book in my school was probably Black Sambo. You know what I mean? It was gone by the time I was 8 years old.
The libraries are just so interesting with how new and modern, where it is like a version of Netflix, where you're like, gosh, this is such kind of propaganda now. I used to feel like I could find anything when I was a kid in the library. No matter the question, we could go off to something. We all learned one of the first things we all learned in kindergarten. Now think of how, like, once we learned the ABCs, they showed us where the card catalog was. And we knew by the time that we got to first grade, we were going to be able to use the card catalog and pull out our own book. It was like a gift. Like, you guys are learning all the symbols that are going to be on those card catalogs so that you can find any of the information that you want in the world. And this
It
will
was
teach
so
you how to
cool.
use every library in the whole world, as
The
long as you
Dewey
know how to use
Decimal
this.
System. Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you
it's
know
kind
what
of
else
cool.
is interesting about this? Amazon can't take over the whole book industry because Barnes and Noble is the only store that's still around that's actually selling like books. And people are like forever gonna love books. Like, it's something that I don't think will go away because just there's people who love that actual book in the hand kind of idea. So like I
But a
think this
lot
is
of
on
a
the
lot of what
business
Amazon does is they
page.
work with libraries or
Yeah,
bookstores, and bookstores
yeah.
will, the only way that they're staying afloat is selling their books through Amazon, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
I can see a very real future in our lifetimes, though, where people that read physical books are looked down on the same way that someone drives a gas guzzling Ford F-250.
Or a
It's like,
Tesla today.
look what you're doing to the environment with this horrible physical product. I mean, this thing's just going to go into a landfill somewhere, and it was probably washed with all sorts of horrible chemicals that now run off into the. Why don't you
Tree
just put it, why
killer.
don't you just put it into your Neuralink? Like, that's so much easier. It's better. For the
I
environment.
hope you've read Fahrenheit
Well, let's
451,
make
right?
I
hemp
burnt my
paper.
copy. I never actually read it.
Fair enough.
We could make
What
hemp
temperature did
paper.
it burn at?
I was thinking the
You're
same
like, I'll
thing.
never know. I didn't read it.
It's like 237 centigrade. I
It,
don't
it
remember
burned hot
exactly.
enough to melt steel beams, I believe.
Thomas,
be
the
honest,
arsonist.
if they actually mix the thermite in the Twin Towers and Oklahoma City with little sort of ashes of Fahrenheit 4, that would have been perfect. That would have
When
been
you go
Been
deep
quite the
on,
spell, wouldn't it?
if you go deep on Tartaria, you guys probably mud flooded out in your mind and know about the whole like lost civilization thing. Look at all, like, type in Tartaria library, and you'll see pictures of what library. You think libraries were cool when we were young? You should see what they were like when our grandparents were young. They're like 30 stories tall with these crazy ladders you had to climb up to get to the 40th pile of books, and then you're on a rail and you're swinging around. It's incredible.
Bell.
They
Where's
got rid
the
of all of those.
library they
libraries.
recently found?
Really?
With a bunch of scrolls in it. Where was that actually recently?
Here,
In
I'm
Asia
just pulling
somewhere.
up a random library, like
It's
a
like full.
Citadel.
The Cincinnati Library of 1890 is beautiful, just for example, but tons of libraries that were just so great. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Looks like something out of Star Wars, right?
Well, and it also feels like you are putting your life at risk to get that book off at the top shelf, and you're going
That's
to
right.
remember that better than the quick little Amazon or Google archive.org PDF search, and now it's just on your screen. This one was like, I remember that I almost broke my ankle trying to get to this knowledge.
And how hot were librarians? Come on, because like they were so into adventure.
Never.
Like,
Anyone that I ever encountered, never.
They're always
I know
old
the
fat ladies.
that's
archetypes,
because
but-
you need a librarian from that library who like climbs
That's
up
my
40
dream
stories every
job,
day.
though.
Yeah.
Like, I almost went to school for library science, but
I feel like librarians back then were built like you because they had to be like really in good shape to get to all the books, right?
The
I think,
ancient
like,
library of Tibet.
I think the key trick to the librarians taught everyone the one pencil in the bun trick, where they could just pull the pencil out of the bun and take their glasses off. And oh my gosh, it was like before there was Superman, there was the librarian after
for
work.
sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like,
Marian,
oh.
Madam Librarian.
She's off work. Maybe she wants to vore out.
She would know what that meant too.
She was bored by
She'd
the
be the
library.
only one. I want to
she's
ask
got
you
all
guys.
the banned books.
I actually think this is a perfect segue because I was going to ask you guys what you thought about this week. Is massive underground structures found beneath Giza pyramids spark ancient energy grid conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I
Have
saw
you guys
this
heard about this?
for sure.
A stunning new radar study has sent shockwaves across the internet, revealing a vast subterranean complex beneath the pyramids of Giza, challenging long-held beliefs that the structures were built.
Do people still pretend that these were tombs? Is that like still a thing? Oh my god! Like what? No,
I know. What are we doing?
I thought we were past that. I mean, but you know, like there's the whole water pyramid theory. So it's like you strap bamboo to the bricks and you build this thing and you put the water through. And there's the Ptahotep's law of do not divert water. But of course, there's the Nile, and there was only 3 seasons at the time because you had the Ethiopian snow runoff, and then the water fills up for the flooding season. And they were diverting water so they could float it towards Giza. And that way they could use the water to bring the rocks. Because if you strap the rocks with the bamboo and you float them, then you can put them next to each other, drain them down, and push another rock in between them, strap that with bamboo, and then it floats up to the top, and then you should continue to build the silo. So it's built from the bottom inside out. I don't know if this is like, it's not necessarily proven, but that seems like unless you believe in the anti-gravity tech. I just think Occam's razor, though, it's easier for them to have used water, right? So all of that's on ley lines, and from what they found is it's geysers. There's geysers there that the pyramids are built on top of. So they're worshiping probably geysers before it. I don't know.
Well, they found all these things that there's like huge pillars beneath the pyramids. And then at first, when everybody was talking about it, there's huge spirals wrapped around these pillars. So at first, everyone's like, there's these stairwells going down. And other people are like, screw that. Those are coiled. This is energy. This is a big energy that this is creating like an uproar of energy into a pyramid point. And so it's just crazy because I also just read this week that Italy is built on top of a whole bunch of like wood structures that are kind of like a similar type thing where it's just like layers on top of layers on top of layers until you get to this floating city. It's almost like
Mexico City
or Dubai, like how we have like the modern Emirates where they just have put up all these islands in the ocean out of nowhere, and they're just like, and now we put these huge structures on them and here we go. And so it's just like with the pyramids, I just think it's crazy. Like we've had satellites for how long? Are you guys just for
10,000 years?
Breaking news. Like, give me a break. So
technically, the moon's a satellite, right? I mean, but man-made, who knows who made it? But seems kind of synthetic anyway. But like the idea of satellites, or just the idea of any orbital.
Anunnaki.
Yeah, right. Gesundheit.
Do you think that they could have been ancient libraries?
The satellites?
No, the pyramids.
Oh,
Wasn't wasn't it always
huge.
rumored that there was an ancient library underneath the Sphinx? Or am I?
I think there's definitely example. For instance, Library of Alexandria, and that libraries used to be like the Library of Tahuti or Thoth, right? Is supposed to be similarly to what I forgot your name, good angel, God pill angel. What was your name again?
Layla.
She was saying about Tibet.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. That's right.
It's a Bigfoot today.
Dude, do you guys ever think about Bigfoot was a woman? I know this is like something else, right?
Yeah,
like the Patterson
footage is
Bigfoot had big boobs. That's like the major reason why I believe that. Because
are you saying we should have called Bigfoot big tits?
I mean, big boobs is at least as good as Bigfoot. Big boobs.
Big boobs.
I think big boobs because it was the 50s. I don't think they were.
They
I'm not even
wouldn't have gone
sure about the
full tit.
size of her mammary glands. I'm just saying that she was packing. Like if she's walking, like you can see. No one would make. Who would fake that? That's that's way too deep of a rabbit hole of detail for Bigfoot Sasquatch. But yeah,
let's make Bigfoot have tits.
But a lot of the libraries were like Jenga. They're Jenga of these scrolls, right? Because they're rolled up scrolls and everything like that. So, I think that you had the Library of Tahuti, and then they recently found the Songhai Empire scrolls. There's like 1 million scrolls from the Songhai Empire, which go back to way before the Songhai Empire. Harry
You're saying Songhai Empire. I was like, what?
Dude, the super gay empire, like the Netflix adaptation. But no, it's supposed to be like Southwest Africa. I love that movie.
Harry
Paranoid American, can you like deep fake the rest of what she's talking? Put that into the movie because like
tits in the Hendersons.
For one thing, it would make Harry and it would make because he seems so lonely. Anyway, I think that would be the answer.
His face. I have to pull it up. We're gonna look at Harry from Harry and the Hendersons' face because it's haunting a little.
Yeah, he looks like a single dad who works too hard in like Wisconsin or something.
Do you think? Just with the 5 of us here right now, we can figure out maybe like we can make a meme with his face. We can make a new meme, like make him the Drake of something new. Because look at him. Let's stare at his face.
Yeah, look at it. He's like the Grinch. He's like the Grinch with a triple size heart.
It's frightening.
The two people that I wanted to be my best friends the most growing up was Harry from Harry and the Hendersons and then Pippi Longstocking. And I was devastated to find out that it was never going to happen for either of them.
Oh, I was more like
Never
Johnny
say
Five
never.
and Punky Brewster.
Ooh, both are way better choices. Oh my god!
I didn't have the best taste as a kid. I'll admit.
But like Punky Brewster before the breast reduction surgery, right? Because
Right.
gigantomastia. Like, why would you ruin that for yourself?
Soleil Moon Fry. Even her name, she was
Dude.
witchy.
Right? That was her name. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm such a nerd with what's in my weird manila mental folders. Soleil Moon Fry. It's because in like Bop and Big Bopper and Teen Beat, it would be like male celebrities and they always just had to throw in one random chick. And there was a time she was the only chick on TV. So it was like, oh, you'd get her or Stacey Keenan from My Two Dads.
I never read the girl articles. I only looked at the New Kids on the Block posters.
It's crazy. Why? Wow. Right as you were saying that, I was typing into Grok, make Harry and the Hendersons a New Kids on the Block concert superstar. I literally, I'm not
swear?
kidding. That was literally, I swear on my, I
Whoa,
swear
we're
on
on
my,
wavelength.
I swear on them right now. Yeah. Hold on, let me get to work. I'll show it to you. I'm not even kidding. It's happening
my
right
I
now.
swear it was a
Wait.
different boy band, right?
Is
I was in the
Olivia
New Kids on the Block
Wahlberg's
fan
in
club.
that?
New Kids on the Block are so
Mark
base.
Wahlberg,
But if it was
right?
Harry and the New
We've been
Kids,
together for
that would
a
have been
long
like the
time,
sequel.
baby. Did you have to
It doesn't
leave?
look.
Please don't
Oh,
go,
dude, no, that was like a
girl.
wrestling star.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
did
it's
get a
kind of
little.
Andre the Giant-ish.
You know,
just
he'd
can't
be
live
taking the
without
blame
you.
for destroying all those hotel rooms, though. Isn't that what took the New Kids down? Was they got like too much of a bad boy status because they started destroying, like setting hotel rooms on fire, and then going and playing for a bunch of 12-year-olds?
I thought it's because all their fans.
I
turned,
really
like,
think,
teens,
and it
right?
might not be, but I think the thing that took New Kids down was maybe grunge. I think is when grunge
Yeah.
music first came in to the whole scene. So like the
Yeah.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam,
It
Seattle,
really did kind of.
it made it look so stupid when we first met grunge to see anything that
The New Kids
candy
on the Block
next
were
to
the
it.
first boy band or like first pop band to get like called out for lip syncing.
Milli
No,
Vanilli?
like on stage. Like I'm not talking like Milli Vanilli lip singing. I'm talking like on stage. They weren't singing live.
They didn't go full Milli Vanilli.
Mhm.
Could
They
you
didn't go
imagine
full
being
Ashley Simpson.
that much of a purist? You go to a New Kids on the Block concert, you're like, wait a minute, they're not performing this live. Now this music isn't very good.
I'm like,
And Santa Claus.
that's
isn't
what gets
real?
me is
I
like
couldn't
these
find
pop
it.
stars are doing these crazy dance moves and stuff like that, and you really think that they're gonna be able to like sing at their best ability? Does that even make sense? Like
Are
try
they doing
dancing.
backflips, but they're still like holding a note.
Yeah.
There's a shout out to this account on Instagram, Lisa Farts You, and she takes these like any female celebrity. It could be. Let's look her up right now.
Oh, I love her. I love
you?
her. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yes,
I'll
this is
pull
what
her
the
up right
world
now.
needs."
It's so stupid, but it's
so
this
great.
is the kind of really how she makes them breathe, like and down and turn and it's so stupid. But that's how what I feel like is really going on in
Yeah.
their microphones. Like here, I'll let you guys. We'll decide together what Lisa.
Is this one
Farts-
where they take the music away and they just play like the unedited?
Yeah, but she doesn't. She just
voiceover.
does her own voiceover of it. So
Okay.
let's see. Let me turn to this.
The aerobic dance competition, sponsored by Joann's Fabrics. Last year's champs are back, and boy, do these ladies know how to grind. Oh yes, the sensual funky chicken. Their famous signature move that
let's
won
go
them
off
the
her.
championship.
Hold on. We have to get one where she's actually.
Of J-Lo or something.
Yeah, Jayla's always the best.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what this is up.
Check it out, I'm dancing like a robot, dancing robot chick on the stage. We are popping and locking just like robots. Pop stars are just robots, no. Making robotic moves means
Is
I'm
she
a
with
robot.
Harry and the
Check
Hendersons
it
right
out,
now?
now I'm moving smooth. Now that I look just like a human, I'm gonna walk right over here to do a sketch about consent. Loe, wake up, baby. It's
So stupid.
The dudes that she's with look like Sasquatch, like New Kids on the Block Sasquatch. I don't know if I'm
coming
missing
this
something.
spring to a stage near you. Tron, the musical. Written by, starring, choreographed, executive produced, and directed by Jennifer Lopez, who also did the costume design. From the producers of This Is Me Now, a love story, except for Ben Affleck, comes
Wait, there's got to be someone. Okay, this.
Can we do a Tron
Yo,
musical, Thomas?
who's ready
Like,
for a
in the
dance off?
community?
Woo! Everyone keeps talking about how much I have improved. Since the first time they saw me dance, now they can't get enough of my moves. Crotch it here, crotch it there, shake my cheekies everywhere. This is some Save the Last Dance shit.
Okay, I won't make you guys
I
go
love
through it any
I
longer.
love it. It's so great.
And
It's at least as good as the original. I don't know if it's.
we did get in our last episode though, they didn't pull it down, and so I'm like, monetization. We make like $7. Who cares? Like, take it. So all the stuff we played last week with Inya, they left it in. So I'm like, they left it in and they left it up, so it feels like a win on YouTube.
I was shocked, honestly. Not only that, we went whole jibbity jabbity.
That was we were gonna see how far we could go with.
They're waiting to crack on you.
They
man,
wait
I'll tell you
until
what.
you're making enough revenue, and then they'll
2
retroactively.
years later, they're like, "Oh, you're in trouble now."
Yeah, my life is tragic. But what about? Let me show my screen for a second. Do you like this one better? I went for a New Kids on the Block, Harry Anderson. I feel like, would you listen to this boy band if it were?
Try to share it
this would have
again,
been the
so
answer.
it'll ask me at the top.
Oh, sure. Hold on a
I
second.
can't wait to get.
I feel like
StreamYard
if this was your option between Pearl Jam and New Kids on the Block, you could have continued. Like, this
That's a
would have
Geico commercial.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the pilot of that
too,
TV
sure.
show? It was actually phenomenal. This is one of those hills that I'd be willing to die on. That remember when I think it was called the Cave. What the hell was the show called? But the Caveman Show. And everyone was just shitting on it. They were like, "Oh, this is so stupid! I can't believe they're trying to make a TV show out of this." It was such a like out of their concept, because the entire premise was about race relations in the United States.
Yeah,
but it was more of like
2000.
regular people versus cavemen. But the whole entire premise is it was white people and black people, and the cavemen representing these black people. And in this pilot episode, you kind of see that. And I think Nick Kroll was in it. Nick Kroll was one of the main characters that was a caveman. And they'd be watching the news, and it would be like, tonight at 9, a new, violent holdup of a chain. And all 3 cavemen are like, don't let it be a caveman. Don't let it be a caveman. And of course it ends up being a caveman. At the end of this episode, the pilot episode, it was so phenomenal, is that the caveman gets invited to his girlfriend's family reunion, and she's like a normal person, right? She's not a caveman. They show up.
Wow, normal person? Screw you, bro.
He falls into the fire.
how racist
Like they're
is
at
that?
this big bonfire. He accidentally falls into the fire, so his clothes kind of burn off and turns into like this caveman garb. Yeah, the guy right in the middle. And then he grabs like a stick to get out of the fire. But when he comes out, he's like, "Oh!" And he looks like a traditional caveman. I don't know. I thought this show had so much potential, but the reception, so many people just didn't see it, and they just assumed it was like the dumbest thing ever, so it never really made it.
It was like Fresh Prince
and it was
of
set in
Bel-Air,
San Diego.
but with cavemen.
No, it's a curse, the San Diego sitcom curse. You can't base a show in San Diego and it work. I think it's because it's just too nice down there or something like that. But it's too bad, because like it's the tragedy is
San Francisco.
Full House San Francisco.
Speaking of that, I used to be a San Diego Chargers fan back when the Chargers were back there, and I used to actually believe that football and everything was real. But that's one stat that was like not ever recorded anywhere. But I would put money on it that San Diego always had the most injuries per year, like out of any football team. Like, yeah,
I believe that. It looked like that for sure. San Diego's the place like you can move to. Like everyone I met in San Diego was trying to get as far away from their family as they possibly could get without leaving the country. You know what I mean? It was like, don't worry, I'm still around. Like I'm theoretically, you could see me again, Mom, but like I'm in San Diego. Like I thought that was a beautiful thing about San Diego.
My family's from San Diego, so when I lived there, it was.
Oh
like
man,
being
you
there.
got like the reverse. Yeah. You have to straight up live in Tijuana. All right.
Or Kentucky.
I lived in the most southwesterly city in the United States, was like right next to Tijuana. So
based.
Yeah, close enough.
Sure.
Somebody asked about whatever happened to hairy people, and I thought it was interesting that there's a
back.
bunch of like infants that are developing werewolf syndrome. This is always my look at you guys. Look at the ad.
Did you just get? Whoa! Am I looking at what I think I'm looking at?
Are you awake or are you
Is
dreaming?
that like? Is that like a?
It's a
Okay,
back,
all right.
but see, yeah, it says infants developing werewolf syndrome after parents take popular hair loss drug.
This is actually a screenshot.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah, that's
Rachel
just from
Zegler
Snow
from Snow
White.
White?
This is
Oh,
That's crazy.
that's literally what I think we've seen pictures of her, and they look like that. And some feminist, you know, and not like the good kind, was like, "Come on, like all women look like that. You just haven't seen a woman before. If you haven't seen that," I'm like, dude,
What is
like,
a woman?
I'm pretty sure not every like what is a woman, because I don't think they're all Chewbacca. Maybe
Somewhere
half
there's
of
an
them,
idea for a company called Frida Tallow.
you know?
That's free, someone out there. Like it just needs like eyebrows connecting
make
on
that
the
for us.
top, some little. You
Is
could
this beef tallow?
I want a Frida potato head. That would probably be, you know,
Frida.
but like a bit more Picasso.
You could
too,
probably
you
have
know?
a
Maybe
Frito
like
potato head legitly and be able to move it around, so you could also do different kinds of like Mussolini mustache and different. You could have a mustache potato head, and then just be able to.
you can't do many mustache potato heads. I'm pretty sure there's only, you know, there's a you get to that Prussian mustache, and all of a sudden they start canceling your potato.
that's why
head.
Woolly
Well,
Willie's
that's
not
why
around
we would
anymore.
just call them 2 eyebrows. We don't tell you where to put the eyebrow if you
Period.
decide to have a little mustache. I used to think too when I was like 15, if some things get canceled because of, you know, like swastika or a little mustache gets canceled, and it takes somebody so far off of it to bring it back ever. And so I used to make a joke like it's going to take a pretty cool black guy to bring back the baby mustache. And then I think it
Right, and Kanye West, amazing,
that's
right?
what I feel like.
You were so right. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, it's gonna take a black president for us to go full genocide again, and I was right there too.
That's
So
true.
In
Yeah.
the Navy, you're not allowed, like, in the military, you're not allowed to have a mustache that goes past it has to be like 1 centimeter in from the corner of your mouth. So I did know black guys who had the mustache. Like that's how, if they had a mustache, they had to wear it that way.
Was it like a split in the middle though?
No.
It just
Or
depends
was
on
it
the
just
person.
solid?
I'm just saying, like, that
Solid.
you're
That
like
would
to
be
be
funnier,
in
Layla.
regulations, you can't have a mustache that goes to the corner of your mouth. It has to be like in about that much.
2 Hitler mustaches,
That's
one
what
on
I'm
each
saying,
side.
like a little gap.
the
I don't
dual
think
Hitler,
it's allowed to be
like the
styled
tandem
either.
Hitler.
Like you,
Yeah.
like
What?
it's not supposed to be styled in a way so that if
Yeah.
if your mustache naturally had a split, you could keep it, but you wouldn't be allowed to style it in. Like you
No.
would have to just keep it in under regs.
Interesting.
Like you're allowed to have a scar in your eyebrow. They wouldn't let you shave 2 lines.
Yeah, exactly. You can't vanilla ice your eyebrow.
Which is fair, because like you really need posers in the Marines. I'm just saying.
No, not at that time.
I think it has the most to do with you're not allowed to be an individual, and even by just shaving a little thing out of your
Yeah.
eyebrow, like now you're trying to be an individual, which is against regs.
It is.
You're technically a dog, no?
A devil dog in the Marines, I think.
Yeah.
You're just your property. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was wild. The someone on my base actually got. I almost got in trouble for getting a tattoo for destruction of government property. I didn't realize it wasn't like an actual thing, but there was someone that got a sunburn because they went to like the beach for too long, and they actually got a demerit for destruction of government property because they got a sunburn and they couldn't go to work.
Dude, it's
Wow.
strange.
I'm not
Well,
surprised, but
There's this whole clip of this guy, I guess, who was part of the Marines, and he was high up in in rank. And he's like, "Do you understand why we call them dog tags? Because they're dogs. We house them, we clothe them, we feed them. They have to listen, obey, just like a dog." And I'm like, holy fuck. And they call them dog tags for that reason, I guess. But it blew my mind when I heard it out of like a higher up's mouth. That's why we call them that. I'm like, okay.
It's just like having a parent. Like
I mean,
you
women have a really weird idea about being called a dog. I know, but like generally loyalty. I mean, people don't understand how much men love dogs. You know, I think that's the problem with that. Like if someone's calling you a dog, like it's because they love you and they trust you for the most
Oh
part.
yeah, that's not like an
You know, unless
offensive
my
thing.
dog.
No. It's like it meant for that, like in that idea. The dog
Like
tag.
a bitch.
I accidentally threw my dog
I guess
tag
for
away
females, yeah.
yesterday.
next time I tried to explain that to your girlfriend, you're like, no, I meant
What's
that
up, my dog?
you're really
What's up,
best
bitch?
friends, most loyal. You know, yeah.
I don't mind being
they
called a
don't like
bitch
it.
because I could be one.
I'll be like,
Reality.
I'll clutch my pearls.
I call myself bitch,
Bitch.
so
Yeah.
Bitch. Oh my gosh. There was something, I had two things I wish I would have. There was two thoughts I had on the way to work, and it was actually on the way to work on my feed. We never come up on my feed, but we came up on my YouTube feed on my drive to work. So I listened to like 30 minutes of last week's episode. And Abbie, you said two things, and I was like, I have to ask Abbie about that. I think it was last week's episode.
No, the week before.
week before.
Maybe it was Layla about it then. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe it'll
So
up to
I
me.
had
What?
I had to Google it just now because you brought up dog tags, and I was curious, like, when did they start calling them dog tags? Because obviously they didn't forever. You know, at some point they were called stratagems and et cetera. Eventually they started calling them signaculums, and I think Germans have another word that has to do with shield, but like numer shield. But William Randolph Hearst, in an effort to, I guess, mock the president, maybe FDR, during the New Deal, he had said the newly formed Social Security Administration, SSA, was considering giving out nameplates for personal identification, and Hearst referred to the SSA shields as dog tags, and that's where originally, you know, the term began to be nicknamed by World War II, were dog tags, because Hearst controlled a third of all newspapers in the United States, which kind of makes sense.
Didn't his like granddaughter, I think it was Patty Hearst? Patty. What
yeah.
one? One of them was like the biggest bitch in New York, tons and tons of money, ends up dying, leaves like all her money to like, I don't know, it was something like a big, huge FU. Like she might have even had children too, where people were like flabbergasted. Like this bitch left like $80 million
To her cat or
dog.
her
And,
tree.
yeah, and then like
Mhm.
not her children. Like one of the Hearst family, I feel like has
That was
one
like
of
a
those
classic
weird
Gene
stories.
Hackman story all over again.
What's that?
Isn't that same thing happened with Gene Hackman? They found out that he had something like $80 million that did not get left to any of his children.
Oh my
Wow. How
gosh.
did we not know that?
That's cold. I always knew about Julie Louis Dreyfus from Seinfeld being like part of like the Dreyfus, billions. I feel like every person from Seinfeld. I didn't know Jason Alexander. I can't remember what thing I was looking into of recent that Jason Alexander. I'm like, it can't be the same Jason Alexander, but I feel like he's from a billionaire family. Now maybe I have to look it up. It's so neither here nor there.
I mean, the idea of the self-made man is the most un-American concept, right? I mean, we love to pretend that these, blue blood stock people are self-made. That's the most American thing. You pretend that you just came up with this on your own and that you were struggling or something like that. But it's never true, right? It's like either that your grandparents beat you as a kid and put you into some Jesuit military, or you're the product of good grooming or good breeding, is what they've always said on the East Coast. Almost all of these characters, and it might not be your fault. It might be that those are the only people that get trusted by the other elites that are already stagnant in Hollywood or in the elite stratosphere. Well, the status quo has to think that you come from like Vanderbilt, Anderson Cooper. Obviously, it's always going to be that way.
That was one of my first,
Until
outside of Santa Claus, I think my first conspiracy theory as a kid, before I even knew what a conspiracy theory was that rags to riches story. And it was because I most associated that with the Prince and the Pauper story, maybe like the Mickey Mouse version, but it felt like that's the only real true version of a rags to riches. You just find out that you're related to some kind of royalty, and you come into this huge windfall, and then it's temporary, and you get reverted back, or you like have to take over that king's role. But that I started to learn organically to never trust a rags to riches story. That whenever that got promoted as the story, that there had to be like some other elements behind the scenes that wasn't just one person making it against all odds.
Did you watch Rags to Riches, the TV show?
Did not. No, I didn't
With
even know
Keisha
it.
Campbell.
Oh, I remember that one.
I've never even heard of that before.
It was like some singy show. Like it was right. Annie was super huge. Movie comes out. Like there's the Broadway, then Annie the musical comes out, which is another rags to riches story. And then they kind of take this idea of singing orphans and what if all the girls that are like at the house, what happens to them? A whole different rich guy comes and gets them.
Well,
Don't worry.
And fun fact about Annie is that Daddy Warbucks is based off Paul Warburg, the same one that ushered in the Federal Reserve in the 1913 and the Titanic and Jekyll Island Hunt Club and all that. So even Annie's version,
and Annie is Nancy
yeah,
Reagan.
even Annie is basically
Not Lucille Ball.
No, have you looked it up? Nancy Reagan's real name was Annie Reagan. And what's her real name again? Nancy Reagan.
I didn't know
What's her
this.
maiden name. Yeah, dude, I've got a skeleton key conspiracy that'll blow your mind. So let's see. Anne Frances Robbins became Nancy Davis Reagan. Completely changed her name. And if you ever saw that movie Skeleton Key, where like the girl goes to the South in Louisiana, yeah, right, and then she finds out that they're just body leapers. That's got to be what happened to Ronald Reagan, right? Like he totally doesn't remember who he is. He's an actor. It's being John Malkovich, The Home Game, and the same. And I think that's what happened was Nancy Reagan was this movie showing how like this little orphan gets like her soul taken and replaced by the widower, and it's jumping. It's a body jumps, like except it's not a joke.
No,
I
I
like
think
that's
the
really
movie
what's
that
going
actually
on.
does this really well is Hereditary. And it seems
Oh,
such
yeah,
like
that's so
everybody
good.
thinks it's going to be such a horror movie, but I'm like, and then I like that the director does Midsummer after it and shows you the ritual that the people do to prepare their body for the thing that we see in Hereditary. And then I like that after that he does The Witch. And it's like if you watch all of them together, I think that is really what the elite are up to. And I think there was like that old, I think The Witch almost does a better job than that movie that came out about the Mormons, that or the series that came out where the Mormons were one big part of it, Brigham Young, just recent that you did the show on.
Yeah, what's it called? The
American
Covenant?
Primeval.
Yeah, it's almost
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was the first American Primeval. So
The Witch is a great
it's a
movie, though,
great
right?
movie.
That movie made me the renaissance of feminism in me. I was like, this is why we have to stop the patriarchy and like, you know.
I feel like you have to add a fourth movie to that list, though. After you've seen Hereditary and Midsummer and The Witch, then you have to watch Society from 1989 to
Yeah, well, I always have to watch that movie and Gem and the Holograms. It's not quite related, but
So
in a
weird that
way
you said
it's
Gem and the
kind of-
Holograms because that song like popped in my head about like 5 minutes ago. I started singing. I almost did a
Which one?
Gem
Gem is truly outrageous.
No, Gem is excitement. Ooh,
Gem
glamour
is
and glitter,
excitement.
fashion
Ooh.
and fame.
Passion and fame. Oh, I love it in Spanish too. Gem is fabulosa. You know, there's definitely. It's probably the best show ever. I have the board game, which comes with the cassette tape, and you get to like play a song, and then you have to jump to that place on the game. It's the best show ever, honestly. Gem is brilliant. Gem is outrageous.
Think of how advanced, like if
Ooh.
you take He-Man and Jim and like even from the sword and like
Where are you going with this? Is this like a eugenics thing or
No, I was actually just thinking about how they are both like Jim has this hologram thing. She puts on this new suit, like with her little punk hologram. Think of how it seems so futuristic to talk about a hologram right now. Like Kanye got Kim Kardashian, her dad's hologram for the birthday one year or whatever. But it's like, oh, this was stuff they were setting us up for because they already had the military technology.
And her name is Benton. Jerica Benton is like Gem's real name, right? And Dr. Benton was a major hologram physicist who was working with Russell Targ, right? So they picked like a real name and everything. And Gem was written by Christy Marks, who did the Sisterhood of Darkness comic book series, which I feel like, Thomas, you love
Yeah,
comics.
I actually reached out to Christy Marks and heard back, but then she saw what I did and didn't want to have any part of it.
We gotta try that again. Maybe we'll get Chaney to do it. I think
Chaney could slip it in, and she wouldn't even realize.
Chaney, I'll do literally anything for you. I will lick your shoes.
Did you guys recently see, since we're talking about like, holograms and stuff, did you guys recently see this video on Instagram where they're talking about how they take light and give it matter? And you see this hand in this structure, I don't know, a tank or whatever, and you see this field of light, like a sheet of light in there, and the man puts his hand in there and starts making ripples in there, and it's like it is like a physical matter. The light turned into physical matter, and it blew my mind.
Super solid. They're turning light into super solid, which literally proves Newton's disproved theory on corpuscles, right? Particle wave duality, that light has physicality, but it's only at temperatures close to absolute zero. Still proves it's totally crazy. I mean, it's the most rejected theory in physics, and it led everyone. I mean, it's the reason why people argue that waves aren't particles and vice versa. But we've talked about particle wave duality for decades as this sort of quantum meta, but it's totally a practical, experienceable phenomenon. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's interesting. And then it makes me think about the whole experience of people taking, I guess, DMT and looking into the laser light, and they're seeing like codes and almost like tapping into another realm.
I've heard this like 3 or 4 times this month now about the DMT laser lights.
Yeah.
Bro, didn't you watch that movie Into the Void? Come on.
I love that
it's
movie.
Fascinating. Light is interesting. And supposedly first line, I guess, let there be light. And what is the light? Like they talk about it being the like light turning into flesh, no?
Yeah, I go with the whole like therefore God is darkness. So like you've got Lucifer is created by her. She creates light. So she is darkness, which is the origin point of nothingness. The no thing, the Ein Sof in the Kabbalah, the what do you call it? The feminine aspect of God. Well, the matrix, the womb for sure, but also Asherah and Astarte, right? Asherah is the feminine aspect of God, is the origin point. And then she says, let there be light, and it's the sonication. So sonoluminescence, the friction ends up creating light. And then she says, that's good. Let it be separate. Let it be separate from I, right? And that begins the duality of nature and everything, like Martin Buber, unanimity -1, that we could break. Everything's broken down from infinity anyway, but you could just psychologically fraction things into 1/2, like I, thou, right? And so the thou is the Ein Sof. But everyone thinks Lucifer is good. It's just kind of freaky. Like they're like, light, you have to head towards the light. Why are you doing that? Like light is God. Why is that good? What's going on with that?
Good point.
Yeah. That is where it gets into the whole OA idea, where it's like, oh, it's a place, not a hallway. And that is kind of, the DMT laser lights. I will say, I am a person that on DMT, everybody's like, shut your eyes, do this thing. And when I did shut my eyes, I got laser lights. But I don't shut my eyes.
That's one of the best parts of DMT, is that you don't have to shut your eyes to get some really intense visuals, and you can sort of focus in on them and analyze them, where on a lot of the other ones, usually the more you try and focus on something, it's like kind of grasping at clouds a little bit. Like it dissipates the more you look at it. But on DMT, usually you can hyper focus on a specific detail and absolutely observe it and keep going deeper and deeper into it.
I had no idea you kept your eyes open for that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that do all things and have had a experience. Something in my body was telling me to keep my eyes shut, and then I would also there was like a point in I only did it twice, that I feel like these are the 2 times. I always say 2.5 times, because one time I just had to sample it in a bowl just to like, so it wasn't real. It was just me by my. And then I was like, oh shit. Like, because even the smallest amount, I was like, whoa, I wasn't even prepared for that. But the time that it was drawing me to have my eyes shut, I also felt, and like the words I have for it now are green nymph energy around me. I felt like there was like a sexual energy that was kind of
Oh.
like, stay here with us, keep your eyes closed. Like, but I was like, I'm on a journey here, bitches. I gotta go. I'm like here to it, almost like I told him, like, I'm here for like the shit, whatever the shit is, show me the shit. I'm not scared of nothing. Almost like my ego. And they were like, really? It was like the bottom dropped out of the room.
Mm.
And so even the nothingness, like go toward the darkness, I was there. And so when people were like, oh, was it dark? No, it was nothing. Like, I don't know how to explain to you what nothing is until you're in nothing. And it was it wasn't even, for me, it was an overwhelming, like frightening, like where it made me very, like if I were a dog, cackle. Like I got like, Argh. But now I know, because of all my trauma years later, I'm like, oh, and I've even said this, I feel like, to Layla and Abbie on a random Sunday show. It was unconditional love, and I wasn't willing to accept it.
I was
Like,
just
I
thinking
growled
about
at it.
my head, dude.
So being the self is necessary to experience love. That's not my line. I heard somebody say that recently, but I thought it was really poignant that you have to exist on some level to be able to be a thing that's loved. And so the nothing is interesting because there's the no thing, right? The Ein Sof is so completely without separation, because that's really all that things are, or separation of the unanimity of the
one.
universal. Right. So we have to actually be separated in order to be loved, which is kind of weird and paradoxical, but hey.
It's so crazy that you mentioned that, Chaney. And I'm thinking about Interstellar and how she talks about, the power of love, and because I watched it again yesterday, and what it is.
Once
and
you watch it, you're addicted to it for a
Oh.
few. You're like, I keep getting new shit out of this movie. Go on.
And love keeps coming up, and it's like we don't understand it well enough, and it is a power it's a force that makes this world happen, and we still don't understand it. And is it an energy? Is it a light? Is it a light that we can't see? Is it a frequency that we can't hear? Is it
But
matter?
it exists in every dimension and for every time frame. So
Yeah.
it's like, it doesn't matter their time.
It'll
It
bend
doesn't matter
time.
their dimension. And it's almost like in the computer as a tool, in that their love of keep recording this information, and I know this body isn't going to go past that point of event horizon. I know
Yeah.
this flesh can't make it, but I only need the computer to make it once, and then we collectively make it forever. And so it's like the computer knows its job. But the interesting part there, where you wonder in this sentience, it's almost like the same one who says, whatever, Anne Heche's character, she's the one that gets caught up in this love thing. And you see when the robot's about to do its thing, Tars is about to like leave, she has this a moment of like a humanity for him for a second. But then also you see that brotherhood, different kind of love come up, where the guy who knows Tar is the tool,
Yeah.
is like, big up yourself, like almost fist bumps him. So he gives him this whole different kind of love for this computer to make the event horizon for all. It's like such an interesting,
Yeah.
it kind
And
of blows my mind.
you could kind of understand that sense of like love for self in like situations where you think or you thought that you should have died, like let's say in a car accident or whatever the situation is, and some miraculous thing happened where you survived and not a scratch on you, where you should have had a scratch on you, or you felt like you shifted time or you shifted timelines or whatever that phenomena is. That is also a form of love of yourself in this realm that kept you here. So you kind of probably even bended time and
But
shifted
even
time.
that is the Matt Damon character a little bit, where survival of self, just survival. It's not anything to do. It's just survival. And that is what he's like, why do you think life exists? Why do you think it goes? Her philosophy is love. His is survival. And it becomes a whole different idea when you look at each of these characters, from the daughter to the robot to these characters are all just trying to survive. She's trying to survive without her dad. The computer's trying to survive without humanity. Humanity's trying to survive without oxygen. And so then you see these levels. If you put each philosophy on it each time you watch, it's a whole different movie, because you see that none of the characters are quote unquote bad guys or good guys. It's just the like any one of them you could be or not
One of them is
be.
kind of bad for no fucking reason. Mr. Man, Dr. Man.
That's the Mars guy. But then think of him. He's on Mars by himself for however long, doing this whole research study for the betterment of humanity, what he thinks like just, they are getting off a dying planet. So he's doing all this stuff so much so he runs out of resources, runs out of everything, puts himself in hyperspace, hoping that one day someone will like hypersleep, hoping someday one day someone will wake him up. But we like in that idea of permanent sleep, what's that dream state? So when you see him wake up and hug that dude, it's like
out.
Yeah. And he's like in there. He's also like, I'm here to do a job for humanity. Like I have to get back to that ship because if they try to do it, they're going to mess up this whole mission. Like, so he thinks they're like love. We don't have time for love. This is about survival. And so that's where it's like, oh shit, he's not. He's on a whole own mission, but the mission's changed in between here and there.
So great.
It's such a good movie.
It really is.
And the bookshelf of it all really makes me think now something about the Mandela effect. Where does the bookshelf, something about it, lock the time? So all these books on the shelf don't change, but as you pull out the Polaroid, it kind of Back to the Futures and starts to fade a little bit. Because I'm a kid that my memory of Berenstain and Berenstein is it was different on the spine and inside. So I always remember both. And I always hated the conundrum. And I remember asking my grandma, why is it spelled different in here? What one is it? So it's like I have an anchor of both.
That's why you're so messed up.
I remember my timelines.
Yeah,
but
right.
Also the Mississippi River flowed backward in my original timeline from when I was a kid.
There
so
you go,
I
based.
think, I always look for other people like, did the Mississippi ever flow backward for you?
That's like, and that's a big Tartaria thing, right? 1811. That's what they say that all these newspapers say that during 1811, 1812, when they had 260 days of comets raining down, that the Mississippi earthquakes and the Mississippi River flowed backwards, whichever that means, because it just meant the opposite of what people were used to,
I've never seen anything credible on that. Are there actual newspaper articles that cite Mississippi changing direction?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that newspapers were true. Obviously, people were trying to sell newspapers in 1812, but there were definitely numerous reports of the Mississippi River flowing backwards. I can at some point find you some examples.
What would be your if you were to try to sell a newspaper in 1812, what would be the voice you'd try to use to sell a newspaper in 1812?
Am I writing the newspaper or am I a newsie?
You're just a newsie screaming like from the corner.
Oh, it'd be like extra, extra naked women run California, pictures inside. Right?
I didn't know if you'd have a voice like extra, see? We got lizard people beneath Los Angeles.
Extra, extra. I don't know, because I'd be a boy, so I'd probably still get that like soprano.
Get your propaganda over here.
I got you proper propaganda over here.
Another classic Disney movie. That was Christian Bale too, I think.
Dude, I can't believe he did Newsies
The original
and
Newsies,
Swing Kids. You know what I mean? Like, he really understands what it's like to be a child in a bad society. Yeah, the New Madrid earthquakes. There you go. Eyewitness
God
reports.
bless you parents who have kids out there. Kudos to you guys.
Back to your whole DMT trip when you had the green women that were like kind of sexual. In dream yoga, one of the practices is that before you go to sleep, you set up dakinis, is what they call them, and they're these green women who are usually have their breasts and everything exposed. They're very sexual, but they're warriors. So you set them up outside every window and every doorway of your house, like every entrance to your house, and you set them up before you go to sleep. Like you imagine them there and everything, and then.
So I love beautiful women, but I love beautiful green women. I feel like that's even cool. It's like Twi'leks, from Star Wars with the slug hair. Yeah, like because I was raised in Santa Cruz, so I feel like George Lucas did that on purpose. Like Twi'leks are green, sometimes blue, like Smurfs, but often green, and they have those like dreadlocks that look like banana slugs. I think there's something about that. It's like Medusa, but like fattier. I like
Who is
it.
the newer green alien chick?
From Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. That's it.
Isn't
I
she
mean-
also Avatar? Yeah, let's
See, there's something a little French about Twi'leks to me. I don't know. I'm a fan. I am, admittedly.
I feel like this is almost a slippery slope psyop.
Right back to Vore.
to,
Yeah.
like necrophilia. Like
What?
you're
No.
down with green and blue chicks. Like there's only a few realistic iterations
Oh,
of
I
that.
like them lively and dancing in the
reptilian.
cantina.
Anything
you
goes
know?
down on the Secret Society of Good Guys.
Oh, look at I just put in.
Okay, can you add vore to that?
I just did. Look at the top and look what it did to my favorite search engine.
Wow.
Oh, now I need to see what.
I'm doing it myself too. Yeah, I can't help
Here,
myself.
wait, we're gonna open it up. I just have to
Oh
find the
boy.
Let's play
have
some
to-
Russian roulette here. Some vore roulette.
turn save search. Oh, okay, here we go. Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, no, some of those did probably need to be blurred.
Jeez Louise.
Layla is not so innocent anymore.
That almost looks like the Venus
And did I ever say
Venus Milo or whatever.
This is just
Am I spelling Vore right? VORE? Whoa.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Your
Vore.
search engine's working better than mine. I couldn't get those.
today's? Look at her tits, bro. Oh
I
my
always
God.
big up Google and let it know it's my favorite search engine, and I give it free sponsors here on Secret Society of Good Guys, and I tell everyone they should only find their true information through everybody's favorite search engine, Google.
Well,
And
definitely dirtier than the Microsoft Bing images I just found. Maybe I have to switch it up a bit. This is wild. Whoa. Whoa.
some of them I really cannot press. Look at this one.
Dang.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, I got one. I
bad.
can't even. I feel wrong. Even I'm gonna just send you this one in private chat.
No, you have to show the whole
Yeah.
audience. Here, I'm stop sharing.
I don't know. I feel.
Here,
Is this
I'll
one
do
from
it.
the private collection? Is that why?
My my social credit score is already negative, so I'll
Dude, some of these are
definitely show it.
pretty. I mean, yeah. And this is interesting because Jabba the Hutt is a lesbian. Like. Well, maybe a hermaphrodite, but still, because it's a worm thing, so it's asexually reproduces. But Jabba the Hutt's not a dude, and I think that they want to recanonize it to make it a white male. Don't let them. Like, it's one of the most important feminist heroes of all time. Is Jabba
Pizza
the Hutt.
the Hut. I always think of that from Spaceballs.
Dude, she's her own woman. Like for real. Pizza the Hut was great.
Spaceballs is great. This is, well, I'll just show you since we're here. And it's one of my favorite things that I'll always like if I'm hanging out with my DGen friends in late night rooms and they're, talking about charts or whatever. If I just want to break the monotony, I Djibouti the Hut.
Yes, yeah. That reminds me
my
of Blake.
goodness.
That looks like Blake Lemoyne to me. The Google Lambda AI whistleblower, my friend.
Oh my God.
She
See,
does her hip thrusts.
she thick. You know what I mean?
There's people
And look
who
at
are
her
into this.
keeping that girl hostage.
Yeah, it's so poignant when you understand like third wave feminism. It's pretty interesting.
Look at Djibouti the Hut. All right, I won't keep doing it to you guys.
If people are into that, do you blame the people in Dubai like shitting on girls and like
When they like break their arms, legs, and spine and throw them out of vans, I've seen some
Like-
horrible. Like, it's hard not to be like, but at the same time, if a Ukrainian girl goes to Dubai, whose fault is that? Not their own. I feel like someone needs to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's true.
I know something accidentally happens to me tomorrow, and this is my real life. Sir, is this your search history?
The worst thing that happens to me is like I
And I'm
get
like,
ads.
ma'am.
That's where you're upset. Yeah, it's like, ugh. But if they call you sire or sir, like in in the Peanuts, right? Like Charlie Brown, sir. Like there's something pretty. I like how there were lesbians in Charlie Brown and the Peanuts.
Yeah,
I
she
felt
was
like that
such
was
a
real,
normal lesbian, just in her Birkenstocks.
dude. And yeah, she made me. I mean, I grew up lesbian, so I fully relate.
Patty is such a lesbian name.
Patty.
Do
Patty.
you think names make you gay? Could that happen? Could you blame your parents if they name you Patty, or is like any? Are there anything like that nudge you? You feel like you were
I will
nudged?
say-
mean, but Boy Named Sue, right? That's the whole premise of Boy Named Sue, is that you need to be that the name didn't make him gay. It did the opposite. It made other people think he was gay, and then he had to like become even more masculine to overcome that.
Oh damn, yeah, psychological fuckery.
I do think that some people choose the like. So I saw this thing on like what's it called, conversion therapy, where you try to be straight, and I feel like I don't know. I had a weird take. I mean, my whole take on it was like, wow, this is so draconian and evil, and how dare you do that? Because I was raised in California by lesbian witches. But if somebody like doesn't want to be gay because they have some fetish about having a family, a nuclear family, and they go to some program to train them to have different kind of relationships. I mean, isn't that kind of like getting a body piercing gauging or something? Like, if you want to do that, like, I mean, maybe I completely misjudged this, and there's like room for people to try to, I mean, if you can give a celebrity a traumatic, schizophrenic, multiple personality block, you can probably turn someone gay straight, right? Like, if you know, like, it seems like that could happen with mind control. And if you wanted that, is that okay in America today?
Or
what?
you could probably, what about a vaccine that had Y chromosomes in it instead of just XX chromosomes of aborted fetal cells? Because then you'd need late term abortions. Like we'd
Right.
actually have to use baby fetal cells, and we could only get them from New York. Are there enough fetal cells to go around? Because I think it's really at the core.
Minnesota now.
Like you probably could brainwash, because it looks like most serial killers, or they did give us that Buffalo Bill look where they're like, hey, he wants to wear a dress.
Yeah.
Like he wants to
I like wearing a dress.
he
I mean, I
wants
had
to
to do
wear
it
a
a couple
lady
times for a
skin
free
suit.
drink at a bar, you know, and it was worth it. I feel like if you haven't worn a dress before, you're just not very Scottish, right? It's like part of the.
You go wear a dress, just don't come into my
Do
bathroom.
you free ball underneath then?
Or you've never been a Navy member on the equator.
Yeah, I feel like the Navy's super gay in the best way. Like, it's all that order.
Crossing ritual.
Especially the submariners. Just saying.
I'm pulling it up. It's called something. What is it?
The crossing ritual, isn't it?
When you cross the equator, it's called I forget what it's called.
Crossing the line, but then shellback initiation.
Shellback.
That's
It's
what
shellback.
I've heard it as. Yeah, I was like, there's
And some
another
maybe
one.
like double shellback or golden shellback. There's like all the different things.
That sounds like something you don't want to find in someone's search history. Golden shellback.
Here, I'm gonna.
I
In the
could be
U.S.
misquoting
Navy, a
it, but-
shellback is a sailor who has crossed the equator, having been inducted into the solemn mysteries of the ancient order of the deep after crossing the line ceremony, a tradition involving initiation rites.
Dude, are you equatorial curious? Because I'm now becoming a bit.
We are gonna pull it up. I want the older pictures though. When I was looking up the
Trials in Baptism by Neptune.
yeah,
So it's like Splash Mountain.
I am an equatorial equestrian curious person.
okay.
I know so sea stories, you hear them all the time. Some guys had to like
Let's see.
eat olives out of other men's belly buttons, like hairy fat guys. They had to like belly crawl through all the food waste and stuff. There's a lot of hazing.
Huh.
Limp Biscuit.
What's going on there?
That's the
What
thing.
the
All these
fuck?
colleges in San
Yeah, man.
Diego, you know, filled with Navy men's kids. It's just like it never ended. Shellback. We need to make like a Brokeback Mountain sequel called Shellback Boat or something like that.
Look at this. You guys, I was finding old pictures that I was like, whoa.
Wait,
Like-
what's that?
He's probably getting something out of his belly button.
You know what it's like to be on a boat with only men for that long. You know.
It's not gay
Honestly,
if you're passing the equator. Everyone knows that.
if you're a gay man, doesn't it seem like your dream? You just can't wait to become of age so you
The
can
Navy's
get on
paradise.
My uncle was
Yes.
one of those, and he was a submariner. And like submariners, women are not allowed on submarines. So, and they go like underwater for 6 months at a time. So yeah, it's kind of perfect recipe. There's
Perfect recipe.
it's the place to go if you're gay. Like
Dude.
the joke in the Navy is that most submariners are gay.
Shellback Submarine, and it's a musical. We need to do this. It's going to be so good.
Oh my gosh, that is a great idea. A musical called Shellback. You guys, this is we can
Funny.
have a whole history.
Oh,
We
and
can
there
have a
could be-
love story.
It'd be like a lifter girl who actually it's like Mulan, but like the American Navy. You know what I mean? And like she has to hide that she and the guy's
G.I.
like, I'm
Jane.
so into him. Like I would love, and it takes place in like the 1958, right? So it's like, everyone thinks everything's all black and white, but it's really more nuanced than that. It'd be good.
Just one of the
Or-
guys. That's what I'm thinking of. 1985, right?
No, it's a good movie.
Totally.
That movie
You
screwed
totally
up
do
so
it
many
just one of the
people.
guys' style because you know why? We were all watching a little, like you were saying, how when you're a 14-year-old lesbian, we were all watching a little 14-year-old dude, and all of a sudden, best tits we ever seen in our
Best
life.
tits we ever seen in
Ever
our lives, ever
seen in
since
our
before
lives.
or after. It's still
Like,
the truth.
It's seared in my brain, like
Still
where I'm
there.
like, oh, like if you look up tits, and they were boobs up until that point, and then when she went rip, tits, it changed the whole.
She was proud, and she was right to be.
We're gonna pull those up too.
Nice.
Just one of the guys. Can I get tits?
Everybody loves today's.
I like that other movie. Was it called Loverboy? About the pizza delivery boy who ended up dating all the like those older women around town. He was always extra anchovies. They always had to remember to say extra anchovies, so he knew to show up at their house all, ready to gigolo. That, and then he gets all this nice 80s clothes and everything. When his girlfriend finds out, and she's like, "How could you do that with all those women?" But then she realizes like, they need love too. And it's kind of like Californication, where you realize that femininity is violence and all about property, and the man's the victim.
I feel like if you haven't seen this movie, for the audience, we'll set it up in the way that it's one of those like trading play. Like, I'm a smart girl. I wrote this great paper and no one takes me seriously. And I heard this high school across town, I can get into their science department and they'll take me seriously if I'm a man. And so then she pretends she's a boy. She goes to this other high school and, whatever.
And they do. They take her
Love
more
that-
seriously.
love
You're a
that
guy
movie.
now.
Yeah, you're a guy. And so she looks like a little Ralph Macchio. This is
This
her.
is what happened to Elliot Page. That's so sad.
Okay, you guys. And then we're just sitting there. And then all of a sudden she shows her best friend this too. Tits. What?
It was bad. She shows the whole world. It's actually like the first coming out like in a movie, I feel like. I don't know. Can you go back further and find this
Oh my
happening?
god! I think I've seen this like
They're
once in my life.
incredible.
Yeah,
I
like
used to
here's
watch
the.
it. I watched it a lot. I
I've
love that
seen
movie.
it. I've seen it a few
I
times.
wonder if
myself.
I can pull up I bet you I can pull up the whole scene.
We'll give it a shot.
Just the juxtaposition.
RJZ's like, gay? Yeah, I'm a lesbian, RJZ. All right? Like, this is why I'm here right now. Okay? Just deal with it.
All right. Just I could have stayed on the same thing.
Michael Sisterino saying right now they're having Grok work on a gay robot musical. Like, you mean like you just started this project because of what we're working on? Because then cut us into royalties.
Yeah, cut us in. We'll help. I got to get this other weird thing off the side of my screen to play this. Okay.
And right alongside this movie, it was always The Legend of Billie Jean too. That was,
Yeah,
it was
that's exactly what I was thinking.
What are we running for?
We watched
can't
that on our,
afford to be innocent.
when
Yeah,
we
we
were doing
watched
the
that. That
Patreon.
was our very first
Really?
like, thing.
See,
on
that's
our-
the perfect one.
Yeah, that was my first LARP. All right, let's see.
On the Honda Elite scooter.
What? Whoa! Sorry,
psyched me out.
everyone.
Those
Yeah.
are just random tips. I want my money back. What?
That's
If your
bullshit,
children
you
are
guys.
here, get them out of the room.
Oh my
Unjustified.
goodness.
All
That
right.
is not what we're up to here. Even the way that it started,
We're
that I was
stinging
like, why
watching
is
this
it
show right
selling this video with this intro? Like, it doesn't start with more. It has more than this.
I'm presuming this
Anyways,
isn't on YouTube, right? Like, because I mean,
probably not too much longer.
Amazing what you're doing right now. So brave, so stunning.
Probably not too much longer. So, anyways, I apologize.
This is the most
about
fun
that.
I've had on a stream in a while, though, because I feel like, you know what I mean? Like anything could go, and like
Yeah. We try to
Yeah.
keep it like cool, like fun, interesting. Just talk about whatever comes to mind.
That's exactly what happens because he kisses her in the waves, and the whole school's like, "What?" And he goes,
He's
"It's
like,
okay,
dude,
guys.
I
he has
just
tits."
accepted I was gay, and now I'm straight again. Like I can't. This was the '80s, you know.
Yeah, I was trying to show you guys an innocent '80s movie clip, and that went so awry. I
don't blame
still,
you at all.
whatever
He's
happened,
just showing you tits.
it
You know
seared
what?
in my brain that I was like, "Did she have mammary glands?"
Would it have been better if they were hairy tits?
Dude,
Maybe
I
Harry
mean,
Mary.
Harry Mary. You know that Mother Mary was Harry, right? You seen all that?
Like the Virgin Mary?
The
Yeah,
Virgin
Mary's
Mary.
vagina.
Mary.
Have you seen
No,
that?
dude, her face, bro. Her
No,
whole
but I
body.
mean, have you actually looked at like the image of Virgin Mary and seen how it's actually a vagina?
Like the
Yeah.
entirety of Virgin Mary is just a
That's-
vagina.
That's pretty good. I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. Hold on, I got some photos of Mary being all hairy from like the Dark Ages, and it's
Can we
pretty
add
interesting.
vore to this search?
Can you grok this a little harder?
Make it interesting.
Virgin Mary vagina hairy
Check out.
vore.
So like
all
in the most reasonable of contexts,
I've seen
she's just
Harry
like
Mary.
covered in hair, but like look at it,
Because
dude.
she's a
Her
vagina.
chest is hair.
This is Patterson Gimlin all over again.
Dude, this is Harry and the Hendersons meets Christ, because Jesus actually is son of Bigfoot or Big Boobs, I guess, basically, and Harry Mary is the Sasquatch. It's pretty. I mean, like she had to shave her face for the picture, but you know she was furry face as
Interesting.
well. Totally a furry. Yeah, Christianity's about furries and vore. Deal with it.
Well, that's how you get them in the church.
Well,
That was so jawbreaker.
isn't it all in
Deal with it.
a system, the Abrahamic system? So all three kind of believe the same in a sense, no?
Except for Mormons, the only like true religion, you know. But yeah.
Mormonism?
Mormonism, for sure. I mean, I was just in an argument today with Larry Sanger, the founder of Wikipedia, who turned out to like leave Wikipedia because he thought Wikipedia was too biased. And then he's all pissed off because Wikipedia is showing an article that Yahweh comes from the pantheon of Elohim. I'm like, well, bruh, Elohim is plural. And I'm like spending like hours doing like Hebrew research so I can show him every possible fundamentalist, evangelical Christian is just saying like, well, but like you have to look at the royal we usage, right? Like the Majestus pluralis, this idea that the royal we, like when God's talking, God's just like crazy schizophrenic. He's like, why don't we go down and confuse them? They will be like us and all this crap, which is like, if you read the ancient Hebrew, you can see there was no such thing as the royal we. This is a new invention. But Elohim was this pantheon because Judaism comes out of Canaanite religions where you've got the wife of God, which is literally what Hanukkah's got the menorah for, because that is Asherah, the tree with the seven, because God's a family. You know,
But also, isn't there the word Ahaya, meaning I am, the I am, and that's God's name, and it's Ahaya instead of Yahweh and Jehovah or whatever the names are?
right. Yeah.
So-
And then so the idea is that the Tetragrammaton and then the Deuteronomists were like, you should have nothing to do with other gods, you know,
Mhm.
but it's not that even there. Like it's not monotheism, that's henotheism. That's the idea that you shouldn't worship the other god. God's not just this angry, jealous girlfriend who's like, who are these other gods? Who are these other bitches? You know, it's like that's
Like
not
Zeus and
real.
Hera.
That's a point that we brought up a lot here is that, you know, it does say you should worship no other God before me, which means that there's an admission that there's other gods.
And God is clearly a chick because like territorial, come on. Like that is the most obvious clue.
That's right. Worship. It's
Insane.
how we all feel like we should be treated, right?
Well, you know, you shouldn't be like going around worshiping other gods if this God loves you so much. I mean, you can see where I'm going with this. It is it's like otherwise the angry, jealous God doesn't really make as much sense, you know?
Yeah, but then you also have the meme of like we've got God at home, but like your God at home is not the same God in the store.
Yeah, it's true. Which is very Abraham because Abraham is breaking his uncle's idols. You know, God in the store. Yeah.
I had to put that on there just in case anyone watches this later.
You know
with their
what, bro? I
coffee
thought
in
it
the
was
morning.
That was brave. I think that, I mean, now I definitely want to come back, you know? Like, that's cool that you did that.
Well, we were really what it does. YouTube already gets mad if I'm about to play a movie that's owned by some studio, and they're already going to get me for that. Like, that's what I thought they were going to get. So I just try to dance around my back, like where I get warrants or demerits or get sent to detention. Like, that one will be for nudity specifically when I get in
Yeah,
trouble for that
well.
one. And I haven't gotten in trouble for nudity since we do this all the time for Abbie's workout pictures. And she's about to go into her workout again any moment. So we're gonna have more pictures like this again. So we're probably gonna get in trouble for nudity again soon. And she's not even nude.
The bigger and better, bitches.
I mean, that's base. That's all I can say. Like, that's, you know, this is what a real woman should look like. I don't know if I was like raised wrong, but like, keep up the good work, you know, for real.
So, Andres, since this is your first time here with the Secret Society of Good Guys, we have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Would you fuck your clone?
Oh God, I would clone my clone to have. Yeah, of course.
He's on our side.
I would
I've
clone
been
my
thinking about it a
clone to
while,
watch
you
my
know?
clones have sex, and I would just jerk off in the corner.
I would have so many clones that this would be good. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'd probably like make a nation for sure. I would probably like CRISPR my clone. Even I would have variants of myself. I would go pretty hard. I have no.
That's very Mormon of you. You just want an entire planet of yourself.
I'll go deeper. I would be literally Caligula with my own clone of my sister. Like if it was me and like myself, I'm that narcissistic. Yeah, for sure. Easily.
Oh,
Abbie and
God.
Layla would both fuck their clones too.
would.
Thomas and I would not fuck our clones, but I would like love to do a project with my clone. I'm just not my type.
My clone would know how to please me, so
Do a
I would love it.
project.
I'm just
Yeah,
not my
right?
type.
what I'm
I'm
saying.
not turned on by me. Like,
Don't
there's
say that, Chaney. You're awesome.
Like,
you could
it's-
definitely. You just need a lift. Just that'll be all right.
You never know, Chaney. You
It's not
never
my
know.
type.
You never know.
You never
No,
know.
you guys, this is what I do have to say. And you guys could probably actually say in your own worlds. There is lesbians that sometimes date themselves.
Yeah,
like
I've
you
seen
see
that.
those lesbians
Yeah.
all the
I'm
time.
from Santa Cruz, California. I've seen
Even
that.
marry
yeah.
themselves too.
Honestly, if I was
They divorce
attracted to a
themselves,
girl
too.
like me, I would just probably be into a dude in my head.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
That's
it's
fair
just-
too. That's what
so
I mean. Like,
just
if
am
you
not
could do,
feminine enough for
if you
myself.
could, but if you could clone yourself and make yourself into a male, then you would do. Like, see, you would probably be. No,
Nope,
you don't think so?
well, I
No,
don't know.
I'd let the other one just buy a strap on.
Fair. And fair. You know what? If that's
Hey, strap on, girl.
The other one, strap on, girl. You would be
So-
turned on by you.
I don't give a shit.
I don't
know
give
what
a
I'm
shit. Take
capable
care
of.
of me, bitch. I'm
You
tired.
know, no,
Peggy Sue over
you
here
have to
on
be
the strap.
initiated now too. So now the question is, do you want to be jumped in or sexed in?
why not both?
Mhm.
Period.
Proper
And there's the
answer.
other one.
that's
Have
the
You get to
offering
go
you
to
option.
the.
fire.
You immediately get to go to stage 2.
Right.
That is the right answer.
Have you
And-
ever lit your fart on fire?
No, but I do know an ex-girlfriend who did, and I think that's really. I've seen too many YouTube videos, or what was it, like Rotten or something? I've seen too many things, so it stopped me from doing some of the things myself. You know, that was one of the things I didn't do. But I think also I had a friend who did that. I was into pyromania a little bit. I mean, everybody, you know, at some point burned down a gym or something, right? But, you know,
Did you have a spot that in your life that you legit almost died?
oh, many times. Yeah, I'm like always thinking about how many more, how I got so many cats' lives. I am basically Duncan MacLeod, the Highlander. I don't understand it, but I'm very lucky to be alive. I think about that most every time I open, like I get more air in. You know,
Is there a time that young you knew damn good and well what you were doing and some other adult got in trouble because you almost died?
oh, for sure.
This
Yeah.
is the thing that I think happens a lot is adults get in trouble and kids know damn good and well what they're up to. Like, but they almost
I'd
get
get in trouble.
hurt.
Like,
I still
I'm
get adults
so
in
get
trouble
hurt
for
and
my
I get
actions that aren't
slapped.
me. You
Like,
know?
what the fuck were you thinking? I'm like, jeez. But they say that's a tactic to distract a child from pain. So you're not thinking about the actual pain that you got hurt from, but you're thinking about like, why the fuck did I just get slapped when I just got hurt?
I think most pain comes from like, Scientology. Did you ever watch one of those like 1990s Dianetics videos on YouTube? For the most part, you're seeing how your parents or some old people react. And then you think that's how I'm dealing with what's going on. You fall down running around as a toddler.
Period.
Like, oh, what? And then someone's like, oh, and the dad's like,
That's-
why did you let him do this? And then you're like, that's how you respond to pain.
That's the kind of mom that I always was. I actually didn't let anybody do that. If my kids fell and hurt themselves, I'd always just sit and watch. And they'd be like, how come you're not reacting? I'd be like, don't do that. Because when you do that, you make him cry. And if he cries, I know he's hurt. And if your kid's hurt if they actually cry, if you don't react. But if you go, they're immediately going to.
Well, they've
Right.
tested
Every
this
single time.
on videos where they would like hold their baby and like act like they accidentally hit their child's head, but they're just knocking on the door or something, and they'll just react to their baby like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And the baby will just start crying, even though it wasn't
Yep.
hurt, but just the reaction and that sound of like and startledness, it'll make the baby cry. There's some kind of
Bob Saget, America's Funniest Home Videos. If you just show kids like people laughing hysterically every time someone gets hurt, or Three Stooges, I mean, we have to wonder about what made this like the war generation super strong. And it might have just been just that people laughed at pain.
about
They're like,
this on our show.
I broke glass.
You just gave me a full circle moment because I'm an inappropriate laugher. I laugh when people get hurt so hard, and
me all the time.
yeah, and people
I
will
see
look at me like,
people's
"You're
legs
such an
broken." I'm like,
asshole," and I'm like, "Oh, it's probably Three
I am
Stooges."
though.
Yeah, we talk about this on the show about like how laughter is the best medicine and how it can transmute a terrible energy into something totally different. It could go this way or that way, but laughter will definitely make it go the other way.
This might be a random tangent on this, but remember when the Sandy Hook parent, the very first parent that came out, and at the
Robbie
very
Parker.
beginning, he laughs a couple times, and those laughs, I was watching an interview with him where he's like so angry at the Alex Jones and QAnon crowd because they made him hate this footage of him pouring his heart out, and it starts with him laughing, and he describes that laugh as this nervous way of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm about to say. Like, ha ha, look at this awkward situation I'm in. But then it gets turned into a completely different, like, now it's a crisis actor laughter. Like, no one could laugh and then get sad.
Well,
yeah, it's true.
The way
I
it
guess
was
we could,
instantaneous. It was just like ha ha ha, and then that was like a little iffy. So I kind of get it, but I don't know. I
A
don't know.
father's
I-
fight is a
I
Sandy
got called
Hook
in the
dad
principal's office for
story.
my kid, and I had to turn my back on the principal while they were talking to my kid because she had written bad words to another little girl, and I was laughing so hard I couldn't let her see me laugh while she was getting punished. So, yeah, I can see it. Like in stressful situations.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a good thing for a kid. If I saw that I'm getting in trouble in school, my parents are laughing about it, it would be such a boost to morale. Such like a
I worked
great
at the school though, so I could not do that.
fair
So I had to
enough.
turn my back and just be like, I was dying.
I feel like that's the one way to invert that weird power dynamic where the teachers, in my experience, teachers are always trying to undermine parents. They're always trying to make you think that they're smarter than your parents are and that you're
I can't
smarter
believe
than
your
your
child
parents
would do
are.
this. What kind of parent are you?
Yeah, exactly. But that would be the opposite. Just have your parents laughing at your teachers or your principal.
Well, that's what right afterwards I was like, the little girl is a bitch. I don't blame her. She's my kid. Of course she's gonna say that.
I would hate it if I ever had to go to school because of my kid. I would just be like, I've had anxiety all day. But I guess laughter would be so nice if you were just like you and the dad and you're like, oh, we got to go to the school today. Let's have a roadie. Who gives a shit what this teacher says? I don't know.
That's kind of like my dad was pissed though, because he was like, I'm a lawyer, like you're wasting my time. What's your problem with him? And then I remember one time, because I used to like mess with my teachers a little bit, not all of them, but if they were really dicks, then I would like, it's like a bull ride. You pull the horn back. So I'd be like, I'm Smurf Zeppelin. You're going to refer to me as Smurf Zeppelin from now on. You're not using my slave name. And this guy's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to come when you call. That's
What is
basically the
that?
end of this conversation. Sorry, I got a Facebook. Someone tried to call Stephen Kalin, yoga poser, trying to call me.
Stephen Kalin, guess what? You're
on notice.
You're on fucking notice.
You're on blast.
Stephen
He
Kalin,
runs a yoga studio.
try
in
to interrupt
Brighton,
the fucking
Boston.
show again, and we're gonna call you during our show every time and leave you messages.
Can we call
the-
Stefan on one line and then call the White House on the other line and just connect to them?
And make Stefan do the hello, this is White House. What?
God, Stefan's amazing, but he talks more than I do. It's scary. But so anyway, the teacher says, I'm not going to call you that. The principal calls my dad. He has to come to school. He's like, what the hell is this about? And the lady's like, well, your son wants to be called Smurf Zeppelin. He's like, call him Smurf Zeppelin then. What the hell is this about? Like, who cares? It's school. Why are you even talking to him? Just make him do his homework. Is he doing his work? And they're like, yeah, but like, see, it can cause a distraction. Is it causing a distraction? They're like, well, what if a kid wanted to be called Hitler? Did he want to be called Hitler? Do you have kids asking to be called Hitler? If you waste my time, I'm going to bill you for my time, which is expensive. And they never fucked with him again or me. And it was the end of that,
I like the attorney of like where they put something on the other side of the teeter-totter that's not real at all. Just the immediate, do you have this as an actual problem where kids want them? Then let's stop. Like, I love that.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, because it just is like, this is the kind of person you are. It actually calls them out for being rhetorical. They're literally a rhetorical person, at that point. You're so meaningless.
Is there anything else in the week, y'all?
Oh, I just got my living room and dining room are completely filled with comics and trading cards and calendars, and it's basically the Illuminati comic. The Illuminati comic finally came in, along with think tank cards, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm still unboxing it. I promised Donut I'd do like an unboxing video, so I'll record some of that tomorrow. But anyone that's been waiting on Illuminati comic, the time has nearly come.
Tell me more about the
I'm hoping to,
because I need a calendar.
You're getting the calendar.
You should be on the calendar.
Thank you.
Is Donut coming down and we're gonna do a boxing party or something?
He is, yeah. We're gonna figure out in the next few weeks when he's gonna come to Florida. And I don't know, we've been playing around with maybe going to St. Augustine, maybe going to Jekyll Island for a day or two. That might be kind of fun.
I think that
leave a little Illuminati pamphlets all over Jekyll Island.
When are you gonna do that? I want to go.
You're invited. I mean, probably sometime in April. First 3 weeks of April, I'm gonna get.
I might do it. I'm not kidding. I also want to rope you in. We were gonna do a show because like we had an accidental divorce this week of Think Tank where I did half of it with David, but I want to do the other half with you as soon as possible. So if we want to do tomorrow, the next day, let's do and get Donut on. We should definitely do another Think Tank before Tuesday. Just like I want to focus on Paranoid American Tank kind of episode.
I won't argue against
give you like more of a. You need a little bit more limelight,
He does.
Like a little cyan light.
He does. That's what we
Thomas
think
is
too.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Thomas
born
is
that
the
way. I
best.
can't help it.
I know. We know
Thomas
this.
is the man. Thomas is, who is he to us? Charlie's
Charlie.
Charlie.
I'm the Charlie, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. But you get to see him on our show because he's not a cuck with just a hand petting a cat like on Inspector Gadget.
That was what I was gonna say. He reminds me of the most.
Professor Claw, is that
with the metal hand? I was
Dr.
visualizing
Claw?
Dr.
You know,
Claw.
it took me until my adult age to get Dr. Claw and the cat claw. Like it sometimes in my very
I just got it now.
Sometimes
so
in my
thank you.
super I overthink some things, and then sometimes the most obvious things like go over my head forever that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a double entendre, and everybody else in the world gets it, and I'm just getting it. I don't know. I like those stupid shit.
I mean, it took me how long? When did you figure out that when the chicken crossing the road to get to the other side was death? Right, like that was a hard realization.
Was it?
Never.
I didn't hear that one. I've never heard that one.
Why did the chicken cross the road? He's gonna get run over if he gets to
Oh
the
my
other
gosh,
side.
are you
Oh
kidding
my
me?
god.
I never saw it that way, and now that
Wow.
makes sense.
So it was a suicidal chicken.
Hell yeah.
Holy shit. I feel slow.
It's like you never understood
There's
the
like a
punchline.
cold wind that comes
I
Yeah.
mean, it's right
I
there.
feel like
and
maybe I'll
verb-
get it tomorrow.
You didn't get it?
Oh my god.
No. I'm like, did you say deaf?
Yeah.
Death.
Oh,
He dies.
Why
death.
did the chicken cross the road
dies.
to get to
Yo.
the other side?
Yeah.
I
The
thought
other
you said
side.
deaf, DEAF. And
Oh.
I would have been
No,
going
not
on
like Russell Simmons.
for the next
oh my god.
48
get it.
hours.
Yeah.
I'd be like, deaf. A deaf chicken. And everybody else got it quick, so it must be something. Like
I
Oh,
get
boy.
it. French class. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reference. Never mind.
Uranus. I remember that.
That poor ant.
that's one of the
I have
coolest
a
things
bad
I will
memory.
say in my childhood still is one of the nerdy things at Universal Studios is they used to have a Honey I Shrunk the Kid like playground. And and they had a big ant and you used to be able to run through blades of grass. It was almost like everything that was on the Honey I Shrunk the Kid movie set, but just a playground for kids. And that was like a cool thing. I remember just seeing like, oh my gosh, this is how they do this stuff in movies. Like your little kid brain is like, I don't know. If you haven't done it or any of those giant things, they are fun. Anyways, so you guys look forward to Illuminati comic. And do you have anything going on, Zeratis, this week that you want to plug or any?
Think Tank. So basically Tuesday we do Think Tank and also do 8 p.m. on Wednesday. You go to the Exertus channel, there's always crap going on. But I'm gonna do something special with you, Thomas, sometime this week. And hopefully Donut will be there. We'll figure out when he can fit it in his time. You know. But yeah.
What are your guys'
shows.
thoughts on the JFK release of the documents? Have you guys gone into that at all?
A little bit.
It's like the most interesting stuff is not the JFK. It's like maybe because like the exact now I'm thinking he never died at all. You look at his like open eye like assassination, and you're thinking like, okay, actually maybe they just faked
Did they
his death
use
just like
Tibbets
RFK.
to fake his
JFK Jr.
death? That's where it's like, did they just use that body to fake his death? And then if you get into like layers of conspiracy and the amount of like times KGB comes up in it, that then you're like, oh my, there's these factions already kind of working. This is just one conspiracy and the amount it opens up to. And I even think Vic Foster on Philip. He comes and hangs out. If you don't know him, his amount of mafia knowledge that I can't wait until he geeks out on this and how you guys were talking about books always have to be a thing. When I really want to do research on something, it's just when I have the time and I'm not going to do it off my own printer, but all the papers, I need to print out if I really want to look through something. Like if I really want to detail and research something, I need my highlighters, I need tabs, I need to be able to pull out papers. I need my own binder that I make. So with this, if everybody doesn't do it ahead of time, because I've been watching people already build AIs around it, and already I'm like, dang, by the time I even make it to Kinko's, or if that's even a store anymore, I won't.
No, the gays don't run it anymore. It's FedEx.
All right, the FedEx mixed with something else shipping, like it has like two
I wouldn't
names.
give that much credit to people because look at how long we've had to already go through what was available, and it just kind of goes through like novelty phases. So even now, even if everyone writes all their little AI scripts and comes out with all their hot takes, I feel like it's still something we're going to be dissecting for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, there's 80,000 pages of 80,000 different things, and very little of it is about JFK. Like, it's mostly gonna be interesting to see. Like, I know L. Ron Hubbard's in there, which is I'm really curious to see because that leads to Operation Snow White, which I didn't even mean to sync, but there's that where they took over and they got in the CIA and they made this as a religion. But also all the stuff about infiltrating the Vatican. You know,
Godfather 3. Yeah, these are all things that like I tell people like watch Godfather 3, and then there's like a whole Snow White thing with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, like the amount of levels of this. But this is what else is going to happen, you guys. Like just prepare for it. Right when you even think that there's some idea of what's going on, they're going to release the RFK. And they're going to be like, here's 50,000 papers on the RFK assassination. Then they're going to do MLK. Then they're going to do Malcolm X. Then they're going to John Lennon. I think it's going to be such a like they're almost laying breadcrumbs for here's you want full disclosure, you got to know all the working parts.
And they're all living underground on Mars 250 million years ago, and they went there in 2040.
Mars
That's
jump
kind of where
rooms.
it's leading, I
I
think.
feel like we're
Or-
still waiting
Yeah.
on like
Bingo
the
Swan.
Franz Ferdinand papers. Like, when are those going to get released?
Yeah, well, they're probably in the ice cream shop in Sarajevo. So
You
they're all
don't know.
No, not that one.
It probably is though. What if Franz Ferdinand is Franz? Oh,
They were trying to tell us like Nimrod style by like, let's put a song in the ether. And then once we tell them, it's like waxing on, waxing off. And then I'm like, show
They
me
won't
wax
believe it
on,
if you
wax
tell 'em.
off. And then they're like, sing just Franz Ferdinand. And you're like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense.
The
It's like,
Serbian black hand strikes again.
yeah, it's like you're just being taught all this stuff through pop songs.
the tones, Kevin, like in Master of the Universe.
Do you guys have anything going on this week, Abbie or Layla?
Nope, I'm just deep in prep, so focused on gym and cardio and actually eating what I'm supposed to be eating.
How many weeks out?
3
3 weeks out.
3 weeks, yeah.
And this is the Oklahoma competition.
Yeah,
Will you get
Battle
your
of the
pro
Bodies.
card?
No, I will qualify to go to a national show, and I'll be doing a national show in New Jersey in July, and that's where I'll get my pro card.
All
Masters
right.
of the
I'm
Universe.
just gonna continue
Universe is the name of the
Super
show.
based.
Parasite
weird.
Cleanse.
He-Man. There was the He-Man and She-Ra
She-Ra,
reference.
She-Ra,
What
She-Ra,
was
Those
gonna-
of
She-Ra.
you who
Yeah.
guys been following me, I've been doing a parasite cleanse and it's going well so far. I can't believe all those things were inside of me and still coming out of me. But this is like, think about it, 39 years of never doing it and not doing it properly to finally getting the right, I guess, product. And I'm just shocked daily. I don't even pull them out anymore. It's just like I only do that just to show people that this is actually working for me. So if they're looking to cleanse themselves from worms and like not kill the bad bacteria, all herbs kind of thing. If you're interested, contact me and I will guide you to the right product. If you're interested, you can check out my page. You're gonna get grossed out, but I'm just I'm
This is
just,
a new-
you know,
a new phase.
documenting it.
You're gonna
Ugh.
get grossed out, but
It's so gross. But you gotta see it.
It's important though. You gotta do the parasite
Yeah.
cleanse. I think it's really key.
It's okay. It's okay,
Seriously.
guys. She's got tits.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
okay,
do,
guys.
and great ones.
She's got tits. It's fine.
Wouldn't that be cool? If, like instead of a badge, that's all you had to do. Like freeze. Don't worry about it.
I think that's what we need to work like into Blue Beam somewhere. Is like everybody's been like, what could they put? Do you think it'll be the Mashiach? Do you think it'll be aliens? What could they put that would be like a universal
Barbarella.
global unifier?
Yeah,
Boobies?
Project Hype.
Project over the shoulder boulder holder. And then it's just like a bra that gets open.
Over the shoulder boulder holder? Really? That's my favorite. I've never heard that yet.
Bette
I'm gonna
Midler
use that
in
tomorrow.
Total
Beaches.
Bette Midler. That's total Bette Midler.
Beaches
All right,
is
you
like
guys.
their shit.
Thank you guys for all hanging out with us all night. We love you so much.
We
And make
love
sure
you.
you like and subscribe and follow everyone everywhere. Follow Zeritus. He does the Think Tank so many nights. I feel like it's a nice show that I have my notifications on. So sometimes I want to watch live shows and it's good to just see people. It's throw around like this with a little more organization with an idea that they're actually grasping out for the night. But it's pretty good. So you guys should check it out. And follow everyone else too on Instagram and X and everywhere. And if you have some money floating around this week and need some Paranoid American stuff, go over to paranoidamerican.com.
All new
And
sticker books out too for the next few people to get them. I've been loading them up with a whole bunch of like sticker sheets and sticker packs.
Nice.
So just FYI.
And anyone that's ever gotten anything from Paranoid American, there's always goodies in there. Even like my wife who had a
Top
bougie
quality.
bath and body company was like, great packaging. This is cute.
It's
Like she
so
judges all
awesome.
that stuff. So even if you want to get a gift for somebody else and you don't know what to get them, you'd be surprised what's over there. And you can find like cool stuff that
And 1
is-
in 10 come with illegal drugs. I'll send it right to you.
Yeah,
Really?
there you go. Legal drugs right to your door. You heard it here. Okay, you guys make sure you turn your volume down because Juliette Lewis does have pipes on her. Okay, XOXO Gossip Girl. Bye bye.
Good night.
Can't you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
Here comes Santa. Here comes the world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracies, sex, cults, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracy, sex, cults, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys.
You're still here? It's over.